to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I tried to teach that to Carrie yesterday, and she said, I'm not doing that every day.
I don't.
Yes,
Miss
she
Buck,
will.
you're gonna have your hands full.
Sweater fell.
Well, my daughter was under frogs.
That's awesome.
We get this on.
Public
video,
comment?
How are you?
Welcome in, Mrs.
What a
Spector.
great last name for a person
Seeing
who likes
none.
Harry
Welcome,
Potter.
Mrs. Spector.
Isn't that excellent?
Yes.
Who'd you like first, Harry Potter or him?
I think we moved,
Harry Potter.
we moved down to put more chairs on. I think Marissa just got one there.
Isn't that
Oh, we have public comment?
Yeah, I don't mind sitting right
I
here.
already said public comment. I see none.
Okay.
Consent agenda?
I move to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it with amendment, with,
A little bit last year.
what? Oh, yeah, no. I second it.
I have a
They did.
motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
They added another check.
Yep, they did.
Yeah.
What?
A check was added to pay for,
And I believe,
renovation.
four of us actually looked at this one.
Sandy, I responded to her on the 7th.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
To approve consent agenda?
Yep,
Yes.
opposed?
Opposed.
Meeting minutes, public meeting of August 6th. You want to make a motion?
Move to approve the minutes of August 6, 2019, with any amendments offered.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have something I would like to be added in the, under the superintendent's report, the,
Page?
page 5.
Which 5, the typed 5 or the written 5?
The written side. Yeah, good point.
Sorry.
Thank you.
No.
That's fine. At the end, third line up, it says, another question that comes up is if parents pay, insurance could pay for the child's special education costs, and they can't do that. I think it needs to be, we talked about that, it was against the law to ask them. They can offer it, but we can't ask. I think that needs to be added to that, just to add
Be
more,
specific.
you know,
Yeah, I think I said
information.
that, actually.
Yes, you did.
Okay, and that was to reiterate, add, it's against the law to add.
To ask.
It's against the
To
law to
ask.
ask, but.
If they have insurance.
If they have it and they offer, we're always happy to let them put it through their insurance.
It's a repeated topic. It comes up a lot.
I know,
and,
but I figured it needed to be stated, it wasn't.
Do you think
specific
that
enough.
parents even know that's an option? I mean, is there a way to get that out there without specifically asking someone? Is there a way to get that out there? Because I can't imagine why they wouldn't want their insurance to cover it and leave more money for their kids' education.
Well, it's very few special ed intervention slash
Yeah.
assessments that insurance
Yeah.
covers.
Okay. But still, if they knew, maybe they'd offer.
we can
Can't come
figure
from
find
me.
that out.
No.
Maybe just put up a sign.
I'm putting up a sign, no vacancy.
Anything else in this at all? Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Who are you?
All in favor?
I'm up for it.
All in favor, yeah.
Okay.
Reports.
Can I just, I just want to bring up, we are going to be doing, just add something to the agenda under other, just kind of going over at the end of the year financial, so you guys are aware of them.
Sure. Reports, principal report, discipline report.
What page is that?
Page 8.
Thank you.
Written.
Right there.
That would be you.
You want me to go from back here? Or?
Sure.
Sure.
You know, I can step back and why don't you make your report up here? Does that work for you or?
What if it's better?
The camera's on. You want-
Camera's right.
Okay.
If you got a clear shot of the camera, you got everybody in town.
Okay.
Lucky us.
So a group of 14 Paul School staff members attended a conference on social emotional learning in Conway. The group found it meaningful and the conference validated the energy we're putting into SEL at Paul School. We've invited one of the speakers to present to our full staff. Lots of takeaways. Personally, one of mine was make a deposit before you make a withdrawal. So if a student was coming off a bus with a hat on, it would be real easy to say, take a hat off. But we're now setting the tone for his very first interaction at the school day was a reprimand. But if I said, oh dude, cool Bruins hat, it's the end result is the same. The hat is off, but I made a slight deposit before I made the withdrawal. And little things like that can make big impact. So that was great. Jen and I have worked really hard to update and revitalize our family and student handbook. We plan to keep this document in the forefront, refer to it with students, staff, and parents as needed. That's in the document, that's in the packet. Universal and targeted teams met and updated our behavior matrix. We're in the process of creating new posters, which we're going to post all around the school. We had a behavior matrix in the past. We updated it, revitalized it, added to it, made it current, and represent what we want. What we want to represent.
Can you give us an example of something you got rid of and something you added?
I was gonna say it's in the packet.
What, I read the handbook, but I don't know.
So one thing that was in it
What's
is like,
missing?
so we have assembly expectations are now
Mhm.
explicit and in there. We had universal expectations. We've modified and made those Panther expectations, because it doesn't matter where you're coming from. Once you're in the building, you're a Panther, and as Panthers, we have the same expectations for everybody.
And we added to the universal expectations, so that no matter where you are, this is how we want people to act in all areas.
And I think we added emergency procedures, assemblies,
Pretty positive.
arrival and dismissal. So we just wanted to be explicit and current. So that took a little longer than we thought it was going to, but it was time well spent. The school century pathway has been completed. Huge thank you to Katie Bilodeau, our special ed secretary, Missy George, who came in on their own time to help put that together. It's nice to, anytime we have a team collaborative effort and get after something like that is cool. And I think the kids will really like that. Recently, we sent out summer letters to teachers, welcoming them back to the start of the new school year. In the letter, we encourage teachers to focus on connection, trust, self-awareness, and continuous improvement. It's kind of something, goals that we're going to keep at the forefront, not goals, but just messages that we want to keep in the forefront, because that's the type of community we want to have. So we're self-aware, and we think about how what we say is going to be received, and we say it in a tone and with body language that we are aware of where we're at, so that you're hearing my message and you're not reading into my body language and my tone and hearing something that I don't want to be heard. So that'll be a focus this year. Paul School Book Nook has been completed, so if you go to the teacher's room, it's kind of been, it's been a teacher's room, but it hasn't been,
Well
Purposeful?
accessed.
yeah, it hasn't been very
Purposeful
purposeful or, of course, enjoyable. We cleaned it up, tidied it up, made it purposeful, gave it purpose, made it a place that you don't want to avoid, and that you may actually spend time in there and feel refreshed after. So we feel good about that. And it's a digitized reading collection that all teachers will have access to, with focus on grades K to 5. Jen and I were going to meet with Pam Clark last Thursday night Pam called to cancel. We're meeting with her tomorrow, but the focus is going to be Jen, myself, and Amy Wentworth Godfrey, who are in charge of will be doing evaluations next year. We're going to meet with Pam, who has a PhD in educational leadership and group development. So we're going to pull her brain and try to improve ourselves, so that therefore improve the school. So we're looking forward to that. We had a last-minute scare with an 8th grade math teacher backing out of her position, as I think you guys discussed at the last meeting, for personal reasons, but we've been able to fill her spot with an experienced and qualified candidate, and we now have a full staff. We had new staff orientation today, and during today we rolled out expectations for new staff members. We did a bus tour. Each new staff member has a mentor. They spend time with their mentors. We try to set them up for success, so that they have the supports that they need. And we don't only want them to be successful this year, but we want them to be successful moving forward as well. And the leadership team, when we took the next steps in developing our core values, we analyzed and used the results from our core value survey that went out in the spring to identify common themes and responses, which guided our process. So we ended up with 4 bullets, and then each bullet represents like a larger theme, and then within the bullet, we want to leave it up to our staff to kind of fill in those bullets. And it was nice to have all that feedback to refer to. That really kind of was a springboard for all the work that we did. And then we have staff going back to school Monday 26, first day of kindergarten, August 27. All students return August 28th, first day of pre-K, September 3, and then open house, September 19th, 6 to 7:30.
Chrissy?
Could you expand on what the school sensory pathway is exactly, so people will know?
Yep. So in between our teacher's room, music room, and the science room, there's like a hallway corridor there's not a lot of traffic there. So we wanted to tap into that, every space in the school that we have to make purposeful. So there's an area for hopscotch, logs that tell you to put your hands on your shoulders. Then there's a lily pad that asks you to do 3 jumping jacks. It's an area to go to just get energy out in a positive and productive way. So it's a little more high energy on the way down, and it's a U, and on the way back you have to like walk on a balance beam. So it's a little calmer on the way back too. So we were purposeful and strategic in how we designed it as well. But instead of take a lap, we now have take a lap or
So it's on the
I know
floor.
exactly where it is.
go to the sensory pathway. So we have some options.
I know they've talked about it
Jen?
in the past.
I like that
It's
a
kinda
lot of
nice.
the things that you focused on here were teacher self-awareness and teacher improvement. I really like that, because I think that's been kind of missed in the past. And if our leaders aren't aware of where they might be lacking or constantly trying to improve, and knowing that you guys are watching them and wanting them to improve, that's just a great thing. To
It
have
is.
that move forward, that's fantastic.
Thanks. For us, it was just important to have focus and pointed focus rather than just another year.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent.
thanks.
Just
Just to reinforce, I hear SEL a lot, and even when I was reading it, I had to go back and say, okay, it is the social emotional learning, when you refer to that, it's a, I want to remember to,
Education is full of acronyms.
Yeah, sorry.
I just wanted to piggyback on what Jim said about that. So that, those 15 teachers went under a grant, and we also sent Gavin to a workshop this summer that was also under another grant for some specialized science instruction. I just went to a 2-day grant workshop, and they really want to hear the outcomes, like what's the outcome of what we've done. So they're encouraging people that are going to these professional development opportunities to come back and train other staff members, come back and present to board members. So I'll be asking that those 15 people to do an SEL, social emotional learning presentation to the board, because
Nice.
it's really it's the underlying piece of all academics. If they don't have their social emotional skills in place. So you'll see more of that with the grants, because they're really looking for that at the DOE level.
Will you set them up to share that with the other teachers?
Yes.
Is that?
Yeah. In fact, I think we're thinking about an SEL committee.
The presenter that we asked to come back to the school, part of what he did was he made the argument that social skills, social emotional skills are almost or more important than academic skills. And he painted the picture that it hit home for me.
You lost me on that one. Sorry.
Well, but you have an interview, and it happened just this summer, hiring new teachers. So we have 10 candidates, all 10 of them have a 4-year degree, all 10 of them have a fairly similar IQ level, but what it really comes down to is that social piece when we're at the table. All 10 of these people know their math really well. How will these 10 interact with a student that doesn't want any part of their math class? How will
they interact with their peers,
How will
how
they-
they interact with us.
So it's not exclusively the only thing you need to know, but it's important.
So does it enhance emotions in the social setting? Or does it teach you to deal with the emotions you're going through in a social setting? I mean, does it encourage an outward expression of how you're feeling? Or does it encourage you to deal with how you're feeling, sometimes loudly, sometimes softly?
The quick and short answer is both. So one, you want to be self-aware. I'm mad right now. And then if you have the skills to realize that you're mad, that's phase 1. 2, what tools do I have in my tool belt when I'm mad that I don't end up in trouble? You know, we use them at home with our spouses.
It's a lot of teaching.
You're right, but
And
those,
parents.
and parents.
And kids.
But those skills are, some students, those skills come naturally for, others need to work really hard at it. It's not much different from an academic skill. You have to learn it, so it's something that we'll be teaching.
And we have the expectation for them to act a certain way, so just like we teach them academically, we have to teach them how to get those skills and be able to act that way.
Some, you would say something.
I was just thinking, and I'll think out loud, do you think it's a result of parents not being able to set them up with those skills initially prior to getting into the school years?
I would, not globally, but sometimes.
Sometimes.
I was just gonna say, I think we have a lot of students that have a traumatic background, and so they don't quite have the skills, where they have some event that is keeping them from developing skills in a way that maybe a typical peer might, so we have to start addressing that.
And one single event can be catastrophic.
And it's, I remember hearing someone talk about this years ago, and the difference between a student that's in a home that's well-fed, to parents, everything's great. They get up, they go to school, they know how to navigate their day. A kid that doesn't know what they're having for breakfast doesn't have a clue how to navigate their day. So one of the big things that they talked a lot about, which we talked a lot about as a group, was just having teachers outside their door in the morning, high-fiving kids, saying, how is your day? Everything going good? It's a huge piece for those
Oops,
kids
sorry.
that can't navigate their day well.
It's not only, we're getting a little off topic now, but it's not only about the high fives. The same speaker that we've asked to come in, he obviously had a lot of impact for me, that's why we've asked him to come in. But one of the things, he compared teachers in classroom doors to state troopers and police officers on the side of the road. Just their presence, you take your foot off the gas a little bit, maybe tap the brake a little bit. And you know, when the police officer, you drive by a police officer, he doesn't say, nice job using your blinkers. You know, so it's not always a high five, but just his presence alone,
That would be cool.
it sets a tone for just, well,
Really?
that's
Have to be positive, right?
exactly the example that he used. And it made sense. And the other thing, the letter that we sent home, I put it, attach it to the packet because I wanted you to just see it. We're rolling it out. We're rolling this year on a very positive note. And it's pointed, and it's pointed, and it's specific, and it's purposeful, but it's positive and it's optimistic, and we're expecting this year to be a really good year. across the board. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. Good job.
And if I can just say, already I've had 2 or 3 people come up to me to say, I can feel a difference in school already. Just by the different little things that you've done to change it, so it's great. And all of the work you've done to create space is gonna be great.
We're getting there.
That's principal support.
Thank you.
I'm so excited by this for me being the
Facilities
math
report?
teacher, just to put that out there.
Joe?
Thought of you and I read that.
Oh my
What do you got?
God.
So for the
She's
RFP,
great.
I'd rather be proactive on this mechanical one than not, if we could. I think last school board meeting, you guys wanted to hold off on it for a little bit. We do have one more PM work to be done. That'll be in the spring. But if we get everything together,
I'm sorry, what's PM?
preventive maintenance.
Okay, preventative
So this will be on all the HVAC and all of our equipment that we have. So if we can get it out there and get it ready to go, and we have all the companies here and everything like that, it'll be an April 20th walkthrough on this, but at least everybody will know that it's coming up and stuff like that.
Jesse?
We were under the impression that you were going to start
This year.
advertising as soon as this was approved. And you had it, I think the reason why we stopped, you said March 30th, 2020, post to websites and newspapers.
Yeah, on that,
So are we doing that? We were on the assumption that that was gonna be done sooner than what was stated on this paper.
yeah, no, it'll be done, this'll all happen in the spring. The timeline will be like that. I was just looking at approval for it, to get it taken care of, so that we don't have to go for the approval again come, you know, January, February, it's all said and done, and then this stuff here, I can start, you know, letting companies know, then we can get it in the paper for the March.
I guess what I'm looking for is a happy medium between the two. In the past, we've been, you know, coming in, it has to be done right now. And now we have this wide space between now and March. And I was thinking more that closer to the time, it's more likely to be remembered than approving it now. I mean, if we could we wait till like November instead? Closer, you know, I would do it before the new year, but I just think, right, for me, right now, this just seems to
Too
be
early.
too early.
Tracy?
Joe has a need for it now, it doesn't cost anything. If he feels he will have a better product starting now, I'm supportive of it.
But he's not gonna do anything with it. He's just, right? He's just gonna advertise and get the
He said he
approval to
wasn't gonna even
advertise.
advertise until March.
It's
He
just
seems to
one-
want it, and he wants to do a good job, so I'm.
Well, it's just one more thing that, in my mind, that I'm not thinking about, it will be done. It won't pop back up on my radar, you know, until later on. That's all I was
My only
looking-
question would be, because I love pre-planning, and I
There's
think that's
more
great.
meetings,
Just
selfish.
But my question is, we don't know what's gonna pop up between now and then. We may not want to approve it later, because something catastrophic could happen.
We need a contract for somebody to do the preventative maintenance in the
This is
school
just-
regardless. It expires.
Okay?
We have to put
So
somebody new in.
we've got to do it anyway, no matter what pops up.
Yes.
Jimmy, you said something? Ralph?
What's the expiration of the current contract?
It'll be this coming,
June 30th?
yeah, June 30th will be up. And we have one more spring preventive maintenance with it. and then-
So we have to do it.
Yeah.
There's no way to not really to approve it eventually. He's got his timeline laid out, so I don't see what the deal. I mean, I get what you're saying, but why not let him have his ducks in a row?
I'd move the putting, advertising it up to like February instead of March. Because that's, you know, by the time you get it out there and whatnot, I would think.
There's
that-
gonna be like a 30-day, right? When they give you like an estimate on a contract bid, won't it be like good for 30 days?
45.
Yeah,
So you wanna just make sure it's within that time, right?
yeah.
So, you wouldn't wanna have it too early, because then the bids will expire.
Does the budget have to be approved by the town before you can put a bid out?
No.
Good, Ralph.
It's gonna be based, we already know what we're spending currently, right? So a lot of the budgeting is gonna be based on what we currently spend. I don't know what Sandy, did you cook up a motion there, Sandy? Were you gonna offer a motion for anything?
I was just curious why, you know, now and March 30th when it's finally going. I just know how busy I get in my life, and I can see that we approve it now, and then come March, all of a sudden, oh no, I need to get this out, and you're still in a rush. I think my theory is, yes, we need to be proactive, but closer to the time we want to send it out, you know, a couple months before we want to send it out, seems, for me, a better plan than waiting,
Good, Ralph.
than doing it early.
So you're saying you'd be more comfortable giving a larger time space when you finally post the job, finally post a request for proposals. I'm gonna offer a motion to approve the RFP as it is and print or send out to print these RFPs on by February 28th of 2020. That would give you an extra 28 days or something.
Yep.
I'll second it.
Motion second. Any more discussion on this?
I got one more question. In the past, we've talked about, I'm thinking about the CIP, and in the past, we've talked about how the 2 furnaces we have in the new thing could actually work for the whole building, right? I agree that the 3rd burner needs to be maintained and stuff, but is there something that you can add to this where one of the contractors looking to give you a proposal is aware of maybe the need of tying in the old system into the new system?
So you'd like me to have the contracting company that gets the bid consult on what it would be to tie the whole system together?
Yes. Because I think there would be a cost savings there if I know we did a lengthy discussion in the process in the past, and it seems like we were that close, and then it got.
Right.
Can I say something? So, the plan is to have a feasibility study, and the part of the feasibility study would be to look at all our infrastructure as well as our equipment and maintenance, and recommend what would be the best solution or long-term investment, return on investment for either replacement or tying in, as you said. So, I don't know if we're gonna go with the feasibility study, if that ties our hands on, if we're gonna ask for that bid, that includes that in there, then it's gonna be part of that contract for 3 years.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm just saying, I'm just making a comment.
Yeah.
And the other thing, based on what I hear here, I have a question if it makes sense, if the RFP, in order to be prepared for the budget process for next year, if we actually put these out sooner rather than later, so we have a dollar amount that we can incorporate in the budget, so we know what it is before March or before December. And when you put the RFP out, say that they understand that the bid, the quote they're gonna give us is gonna be effective July 1st. So then we have a true number that we're working with.
Yeah, we can do that too.
I'm just asking.
That's good planning.
It's actually a good idea.
Yep, that's good
I
planning.
like that. Yeah.
I like that better.
I'll make a motion to amend my motion
I seconded it.
You better wait till he
So-
says.
Yeah, let's come up with a date.
Oh, I
mean,
thought it was
guess-
to amend it. He needed a second to amend, but I guess not.
Well, yeah, you do.
You
do
do?
need a second.
That was what I was seconding.
So what do you, I think, Joe, maybe what do you think a good date would be as, to Marie's point, sooner the better? Would it be September 30th, October 30th, or?
Can I add something here?
Sure.
I think we should trust Joe to make the decisions about when these dates go. He's the guy who's got to do this. I think we're really looking for a motion from the board to approve the RFP itself, the proposal. I think Joe's been doing this for a while, and I think nobody here really knows better than he does about dates.
Well,
Yeah,
we
but
could have
we-
just said no, which we didn't do, and we talked about it, and he liked her idea, so I think this has been pretty good discussion.
Yeah, and my point, Jen, is I just think he has, again, the proposal is, the scope of it is really what we're looking at, and Joe has, I understand what you're saying, but Joe, he's been doing this a while, and I think we can trust Joe's judgment on when they go out.
But we still need, we still need to have a voice in the direction that the administrators take.
We have to vote on it, so we get to ask questions and say stuff about it. That's why we vote on it.
I understand that, but we've done the proposal itself.
So the RFP, so what I'm getting right now is, nobody's really voted yet, but we're in the general consensus of the RFP.
I'm about to finish my amendment.
There we go.
You better start from the
All
beginning.
right, I move to amend my original motion to approve the RFP tonight as written. And the amendment would be to post the need for an RFP by September 30th.
Is that too soon? When do we need to have it for
That's gonna
budget?
be tight, because
When do we need
we
to
still
have
got
it
a
for
lot of stuff
budget?
going on.
I didn't know, I just asked that question.
Yeah,
As
thinking
as
more
the
like
superintendent said, if it's,
January
if,
Oh, don't do the superintendent stuff. Just when do we have to have the information for the budget?
So
What's
the
the date?
budgeting process begins in late October.
Well, we did it last year. You do it by
We would have.
November, December.
Yeah.
Sounds like he doesn't
When do we
know.
have the
One
budget?
at a time.
There's no way to get a new RFP out there by September 30th, do the
But
walkthrough.
this is the RFP that we're approving, so, I mean, it's ready, right?
Mhm.
It's ready to go. You could really put
I'm
it
not
out
ready,
tomorrow.
no.
As
I'm
far
not-
as.
I'm not ready, there's too much going on right now. Just
So
me,
should I
myself,
amend
and
my
I.
amendment to October 30th?
When would you be ready, and would that give us time to have it ready for budget? Would that work out?
I would, we were talking about budget is, I could have this locked in probably by December 1.
And then you could have it all in time to
I would
know
have,
for
do
the
the
budget.
walkthrough, I'd have all the bids back, bring them to the board, and the board would decide.
I think that seems fair.
By December 1, I could do that.
But December 1 is after everything else happens. So you need to,
Everything else.
put the RFP in the newspaper at a certain date. Um, So, I mean, I
It would be a
guess
decision made by December 1, is what I was saying,
who you're awarding the contract to, with the numbers.
who you're awarding the contract
Well, who we
Who is
as a
awarding
team,
the
who
contract?
we as a team are awarding the contract.
to. Correct.
So really,
That's
I'm
awesome.
trying to get through my amendment there, and I'm hoping that somebody,
It's following.
really, yeah. I
Um,
could amend my,
So put out the RFP as needed for a decision made on December 1.
that'll work for me.
Okay,
I second your amendment.
all right, there we go.
You like that?
Did you get that, Larissa?
And Joe? Joe, you like that?
As needed for a
I can get
decision on
something
the
together by
award
December 1.
And that gives
by
you what you need?
December, by December 1st.
Is-
Is that correct?
So we as a board know we'll be spending the money between now and December 1st, when
December
Joe
1st.
brings in the information for us.
So we have a motion on the floor, second on the floor. All in favor?
Of the amendment.
Of
The
the
amended.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Is that all in favor?
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, so then
See, that was a nice equal balance of
Yeah.
knowing Joe's doing what he's saying, but having
Thanks.
a little control.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The other thing we got going on is
I am
there's a lot of
easy.
construction going on in the building. Learning centers, our doors are getting hung, things are getting painted. That section of the area will be opened up and ready, the hallway will be opened up and ready for school to open. The ceiling in the learning centers will not be closed up yet, because that's gonna take a little bit of time to get those done. The partner program, is coming along. We're gonna have 4 of those cubbies built, ready to go. The preschool doesn't start until after Labor Day, so all that will be done by then. So and we're gonna have that all sectioned off, and it's all gonna happen after hours and weekends we're doing. Music system's gonna be happening on weekends, because we have scaffolding that we have to set up for that there. And that's just been a little slow on paperwork into things. And then the security system, the DVR is being built right now. We have the power in, and they're getting all of the stuff ordered to be shipped here. So we're moving forward with all of
Will
that.
that be
Sure,
done by start of school or no?
We will have, the DVR will be in place, but I don't think all of this outside will be done, the wireless part. And we were when we had that meeting with them, with everybody, that was kind of the kitschy part was that.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions for Joe?
One more.
Go ahead.
Do you think you might present to the board an amended schedule? Maybe in 2 meetings from now?
No.
Okay.
I don't think.
Straight enough answer.
I like him when he's direct.
He's got some pressure put on him.
That was awesome.
I will-
He's got a lot
I will
going on.
Do my best, but as of right now, probably not.
Thanks,
The
Joe.
motion gives you kind of a...
Tracy?
I just want to say, I did do a tour the other day, not too long ago. I don't even recall why I was in there, and it really looks fabulous. And I can see the pressure's on to get the work done. But the
Yeah.
cubbies, the painting, where you're going to put your hands on the black.
Yeah, the paint looks really cool. It's all tied together with that.
It really is, it's going to be neat when they walk in.
Yep.
their first day of school.
And that painting scheme, that was a whole collaboration of everybody. That just wasn't one idea out of my head. That was Jen, Jim, teachers,
Yeah.
administration. That was just a whole collaboration of
Nice.
people's. That's really where that all came
You walk in
from.
and it says, hey, it's a new day.
Goes Go Paul School.
It does.
It does.
Yep,
Nice.
and there's the, what is it, yes, it looks great.
They've been hard at work.
Mhm.
They really have.
All right,
Non-stop.
old business, RFP, that we just did that, right?
We did it.
Get that.
13th, the hiring update, oh no, HP 16.
HB 1612, data, that we just did that too, right? Oh, you're pretty good, Joe.
No, you didn't.
No, I don't think you did.
No,
Oh, you didn't do that one?
No.
You
did.
talked about something, but.
Well, just, that's why I asked him.
Oh, yeah.
I had asked for this to be put on
Okay.
to find out where we're standing with the data security. Have we heard back from Mainstay about doing anything? And about the consortium that I had brought up about 2 months ago? And I asked Mr. Gregoire to address
So there's not a
that.
whole lot moving on the HB 1612. We'll be working on that we're actually in dialogue with the consortium now about contracting it. And the consortium basically is a collective of vendors that will provide the needs that we provide, the means that we have for our needs in regard to the data security. Talk with Mainstay. We'll have a budget item for the budget here soon. What it's going to cost us, but it's not going to be cheap.
No.
We're probably talking upwards of about $30,000 to have Mainstay do this. And what we do is we break this up payments over the course of the year to have them do it. It's not a one-time event, and this is most likely going to be a budget item yearly. This is not going to be, hey, we're going to go and throw a bunch of security money at this and we're fixing it. It's going to be a maintenance program that's going to take us. It's going to be something we're going to be living with
And there
as long as we.
recently, I can't remember the district, but they had a security breach.
There have been some schools with some security
Already.
breaches in regard to, finances and data mining on
This
kids.
was, I
and-
think this was students and faculty, the
Yep.
one that I saw. I think it was Bedford.
There's not just one. There's
Yeah.
a number of schools that
That's the
have
one
had
that
this
I
experience,
saw.
yeah.
Yes, I do remember the discussion that we need this, that it is in fact law, I think, at this point, to have
Yes.
the security. So, I guess my question is, Mainstay can do this?
Mainstay can provide that service,
Mhm.
but
it's priced.
the law came into effect late.
Yep,
You
it did.
you were hearing about
Yep.
this,
Yeah.
if I
After the
remember
fact.
correctly, probably before the first of the year.
Yep.
In November-ish, you were hearing about this, but again,
Well, we knew about it at the end of last year.
well, you also knew about it before. You knew about it before that. You were hearing about this from Dr. Tyree regarding the need for the data security. But the cost of this, in my discussion with other school districts, it ranging anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 a year.
No, at the conference we went to, workshop, it was between 15 and 20 is what they were saying. Our problem that we have right now here in Wakefield is that we didn't put that much money aside to cover that.
Not.
So we're not going to be able to do all of it this year.
We're not going to be. You can't really
And-
do
and-
part of it. It's not like you can put it incrementally. It
So-
is. We will not be in compliance with HB 1612.
But it should be noted that a lot of districts probably will not be because of the way it
Correct.
came on.
We made that
So-
decision, remember, when we were chopping, when we
Yes.
had chop,
Yes.
chop?
Yes.
That was one of those things that had to go.
Yep, that's it, again, and it came in so late, my concern is that about the compliance piece, we'll be in compliance, if anybody asks, it will be in.
Yeah.
the
I think
fall,
as long as
hopefully.
we're pursuing it,
Yep.
I don't think there's much they can do for it, because a lot of districts are that way. But the consortium, the way I understood, was a bunch of districts that
It is.
are part of it.
And that we can be part of,
Yeah.
That's.
This year?
And it's
based on.
brainstorming.
Basically, they put you work together with all the other schools that are part of this consortium in New Hampshire, and it gives us a cut price on different services.
Oh, yeah.
And it's about $1.50 a student, and we'll be able to kind of tell them better what we need once we land. I know our numbers, Jim, for right now are pretty flexible, aren't they, on our enrollment numbers? Seems to-
We're up between 20 and 30.
Yeah, it looks like we lose 10 and we gain 20. Is really what it feels like. We're looking at the numbers we have, but that's as soon as we get those numbers, we'll be able to give the consortium exactly what we have, because they charge you per student.
Okay. Well,
So
that's-
we are in process on that.
But it was very recent.
Yeah, and
I
it's a,
remember-
oh,
I think I
yeah.
figured out it was about maybe 500 or less.
We're gonna probably, yeah, depending on what our numbers are, to be between, $550 and $600, certainly something that we can use as security money for.
With other schools that are looking at the same thing that we are.
All, yeah, many
Okay.
schools. It's based out of Oyster River over in Durham.
Okay, that's great.
Thanks.
Good, thank you, Sandy.
New business, hiring update?
This is quick. We're done. Everybody's hired, except for Joe. You're looking for somebody, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah, and I just made phone calls today, and I just got a couple calls back.
Okay.
Did you lose somebody?
Excuse me?
Did you lose somebody?
Nope.
Oh, good.
Nope.
Good.
No, it's all of our essential positions that are required for us to be ready to rock and roll on Wednesday. And those teachers will all be in on Monday. Ready for a good time, I'm sure.
All right, student handbook, 2019, 2020, update.
I just say I really like the font.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, it's good.
It is.
It really is. It's
I do want to add though, I am aware that the formatting is off. It isn't in real life, but the way that it's copied over.
Yes, you have headings at the bottom of the page and.
Right, it doesn't
Okay.
actually look like that when you print it, just transfer it over into this, changed a couple margins and things.
I just had a few
ahead, Sandy.
questions. One is that your table of contents, all the pages are off on this, when I was checking. Second of all, the dress code, how do I put this politely? I thought it didn't go far enough. I thought it needed to be a little bit more specific. I think there needs to, because we have a elementary school and we have a middle school component, to lump the two groups together, I thought was kind of not right. I think there should be and you guys can decide how you divide it up, but I thought a K through 4 would be a dress code for them, and then 5, 6, 7, and 8, another one for them. I know we've been more specific in the past, and I just felt that leaving it up to the discretion of the administration of what's not there, if we could.
I think the discretion of the parents, isn't that really individual family?
It was just, what page was that on?
Did you guys tie it to page 70 where it lists, I was hoping for more specificity, but if you go to page 70, it does say, it gets more specific.
Where?
Right here, it says students' underclothing will be covered, no portion of.
Okay, I think
Will be
then maybe in
exposed.
that area, refer them to that,
I'm sorry, where are you looking?
You look at the
She was
matrix.
looking at the
The
regular
matrix.
summary.
Yeah, we're looking at the matrix, yeah, well, you're looking at the dress code on page,
She was looking at the summary in the beginning.
on page 43 and 45, 43 and 44 on the handbook, on the packet.
maybe they're, make a, I didn't see it, maybe they're, refer them to that matrix or something so that they'll understand that.
I think
We-
you ought to
we-
hold
Our hope was that you guys
teachers to
would
this too.
nitpick aggressively, so that we all collectively can feel really solid about this handbook moving forward.
But I do think there needs to be
the
separation
formatting.
for the kids, I don't want to be as draconian as it was when I was in school. I know there's been a bunch of things about, the length of things, and going by finger length, some, that you can't do that. When I was in school, it was so many inches from the knee, and that made it,
Yeah, you get a short kid, 4 inches from the knee is, up to the cheeks of her bum. If 4 inches from Kate's knee, it's still
But there again,
acceptable.
what I'm saying is, but if you have one for younger kids and one for
But I
older
mean,
kids.
But Julia is 5 foot if she's anything, and Kate's
Yeah.
5'8". At 4 inches is a big difference on those kids.
And then you've
You
got
know?
kids who are growing into their arms,
'cause-
and I say, they have like orangutan arms, so
Right.
their fingers are down
So
by the
that's-
I just
shins.
think it
and,
needs to be tweaked a little bit more. I
Good,
wasn't,
Jen.
I just thought, I'll have to look at the other, because I didn't look at the matrix. I thought that was more for discipline, so I didn't even look at that part. The other one was the, you had listed, fund on foods in the classroom, on 17. It's page 46 in our packet. In the top it says carbonated drinks are not allowed in the classroom or the cafeteria. And it says clear water only is allowed during the day. And the thing is with that, when the kids have their snacks, they usually have juice boxes. So is that going to be?
I think it's during the day, like the kids all bring water bottles. They don't want high C on the new rugs.
Yeah, I know that, but it kind of says, as a parent, I'm looking at it as a parent. I'm taking it literally that the only thing they're going to be allowed is water in the classroom, and maybe there needs to be exception, except at snack time or something.
You want a Capri Sun and a snack, I can wrap my head around that. Sure.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
we
I
were
just-
thinking like, if you have something like that, there should just be water
Who's
in
thinking
it.
it's
Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Who's
But
thinking
the
it's
way it
like
is,
that?
if you take it face
Right.
value, I took it as
Oh, wait.
only water,
Graduated.
and I'm like, that's going to go over really well. I've been in a classroom. I don't think so. Other than that, that's the only thing I have.
Okay, so-
Okay, Jen.
So my worry is about the dress code, that it's not out there yet. I've seen a couple of kids Facebook themselves with their belly showing because they don't know any better because they could last year. And you're gonna have a hard time when parents went out and spent a couple $100 on their clothes and all the shirts are belly shirts. So I think you're gonna run into that. You're gonna have to ease them into this because you didn't send this out before school clothes shopping.
Our plan, Jen, just to respond, if you don't mind, we're gonna have a day two assembly where, and cell phones are a major rule change as well. So we need to make sure that we're explicit with these kids about what's been changed and what the expectations are,
But then you're gonna have splashback from the
Of course.
parents on the, hey, I can't run out and spend another $100 on clothes or whatever. I called you, I was smart, but Kate doesn't, anyway. But I also think you need to enforce the dress code with the teachers. I think that they need to show, and paras, they need to show a level of professionalism. Sometimes you walk into school and it looks like people have been out in their garden and it turns out that they're paras. That's not really conducive to a good professional school. I think I told you the story that I had to teach Kate about G-strings and other things when she was in second grade because a para was wearing it and it was clear for everyone to see. Shouldn't happen. So I think you need to be onto that. Hmm?
Okay,
Yeah.
So that would be, this is student family.
Mhm.
We don't have a handbook, but we have what we call a reference binder for our staff.
Mhm.
And dress code is in that.
Is it getting updated as well
Yeah.
and enforced?
Yeah.
Good. Looking forward to that.
Tracy?
I have just a few items. I think it's very readable. This is a lot to read, and it really it was easy to absorb. Page 48.
Written?
Page 48, it refers to students not permitted for self-administered internal medications. I happen to be very familiar with type 1, which you do self-medicate, and there's really no taking it at home or anything like that. I don't know if that could be addressed there, or maybe that's on a case-by-case basis, but, so, the next, I was curious.
Tracy, I'm sorry, can you just say that? I'm on page 48 now.
Okay, 48, it addresses that self-administer internal medications. There are some chronic illnesses or diseases that, like diabetes, that you will have to administer yourself. That's all. It's,
Yeah, so we should talk about that, because we have one.
So, it might be on a case-by-case basis. I was just trying to see something I saw.
Yep.
I was curious, this is just a question, page 49, birth certificates must be on file. Is that required?
For registration. Yep.
Is it? Okay. Page 52. The photo waiver. On page 52, it says, we would like your permission to utilize the photographs. And then on 53, a permission form is included to opt out. So initially, I was thinking if you need it to take it, it's an opt-in.
They've always done an opt-out.
It's opt-out, so
Yeah.
unless you opt out, you're giving us permission to be able to use your photograph, so you have to actively opt out.
Okay, so on the first page, to me, it felt like I had to give my permission to utilize the photograph.
Okay.
So maybe,
Changing that word.
Hang on, Jen, have you changed the form?
No, it's an opt-out still from last.
But is the form still, as I recall, doesn't it still say you can use it for this, you can use it for that, you can use?
No, it's still, it's last year's, which says,
Okay.
you know, that you have to, I choose not to have my child's photograph be used.
right, so I was just
Something like that.
hoping it could be more clear, that basically,
Yeah, definitely.
unless you opt out, you have given us permission, just something like that, because I thought they contradicted. And I guess I'm curious, and can somebody use, so it can be used at regular communication, or in a newsletter, or the school Facebook page, or the school website, but it can't go beyond that to other websites? It's, the permission is for the school to use, not other sites, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I think that was it.
And
I'm sorry.
Jen can go first, she's a board member.
Mine's pretty easy. I think in one of the places, under the excused, unexcused, two paragraphs, oh, I don't know, I did this, I made my notes a long time ago. I'll find it where in the beginning, the excused. It just says the same thing twice in each thing. It says, in middle school, it's a student's responsibility to ask teachers to work missed while absent. And it just says it twice, not right together, but in each paragraph. I just thought maybe you wanted to ditch one, but, you want me to find it?
It's 39 and 40 of the packet.
Okay, not a big deal, just an edit. In reading the, the morning schedule's tough for a lot of people, and calling kids in. Is it universally acceptable to leave a voicemail? Because the phone is not picked up before 8 o'clock. So if you have to call somebody in, so I've always hesitated to leave a voicemail because I didn't know if it would go through that way or not.
Yep.
Okay, so that's clear for me. Yeah, everything else is pretty, well, sometime in the future. I think it might be something, the before school program never worked out, right? It was always but so the rec is doing it now. There's 3 daycares in town that do a before school, but the kids who are left out are the kids who have aged out of daycare. They legally can't go to a daycare in town because they're over 12. Maybe, and they're older, they're responsible, they've been through your school for a lot longer. Maybe there could be some sort of an 8th grade study hall or something for the kids. This is a big town. And like in my situation, we have to finagle because my kid would have to walk 2 miles by herself to get on a bus. And that's not happening. She's not walking 2 miles by herself when I'm at work because, maybe it's just something we could think about in the future for kids who have that issue. And I get not doing the kindergarten because there's many options for K through 7, but there is no option for the kids that are above 12. Not this year, not next year.
Is that cut off the rec as well, 12?
7th grade.
Sandy?
I had one more thing. And it's on library books when they're overdue. I like the guidelines, except when you're K through 2, I think a second written notice, and 3 weeks overdue, a second written notice will be issued to the student. I think at that point, maybe parents on a K through 3rd, 2nd grade student should be notified that they are, their child has an overdue book. I mean, older kids can take that responsibility, but I think K through 2, second grade.
Would that fall in line with making sure that the teachers make sure the kids take the handouts home? So the little kids K through 2 are gonna have a folder, so the teacher would probably put that in their folder for their parents. So that will work out. Do you know what I mean? They all have their folder that they have to see every night.
That's if the parents get it.
They have to, because if they don't, they're really slacking, and you can't make somebody do better than, So they cover that.
But I still think it should be an earlier notice for the younger kids than a later notice. But that's just something you can take under consideration that I noticed.
I just, I don't know if it goes in here, and you guys have been so busy, I haven't been able to tell you that, about a year and a half ago, and I just found it out, a law was passed that if you did a survey with students that was of a non-academic nature, it had to be advertised, and it has to be a parent opt-in, not a parent
Yeah,
opt-out.
we've talked about that. We have, yes.
So, I don't know if that needs to go in the handbook. It is a law that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And it's
Dr. Tyree was big on that.
Opt-in as opposed to opt-out.
Right, so it has to be advertised and there needs to be an
Yeah.
opt-in.
Yeah.
And then, just because she's so valuable to our office, Kathy Bordeaux's not in here.
I sent them an email.
Yeah, I put that in.
On the electronic devices thing, I think that needs to be also enforced with teachers. A lot of blogging goes on during class time. Teachers walk down the hallway on their cell phones. They have the same access to, if I need to get Kate, I'm supposed to call the office. That should apply to people who are getting paid to be here as well. It's a bad example, and it probably, you guys are on that. I know you are, but I think you really, I want to notice that other people pay attention to that, and it's a bad example.
You're right, and it's not just that, but we want to model the behaviors that we want students to follow, so.
Carl?
Yeah, so the question I gave Joe, would we get a copy of an amended student family handbook with the right pages and stuff?
Our hope was that, if we could rewind time to April, May, our hope was to have this done, and in the front of the student handbook, that the student agenda books that each student gets. So it's literally in the forefront of every student's everyday happenings. We ordered the books before we completed this, but we want to have this available for students and staff before Wednesday. So the hope, we certainly would give you a copy, but we were hoping that we could approve with amendments if we could tonight. That would be our hope. So I know that in the past, when there have been revisions, the content that was changed was red, and the stuff that was the same just was black. But this is a complete overhaul of the handbook. So I mean, formatting is different. There's additional categories. We deleted categories, so we couldn't do that. So I know this was a lot for you guys to look over, but if we could, we would like to keep it in the forefront of your approvals. And obviously, a big part of that.
Good, Rob.
So you've heard all of the suggested changes. And would you be referring to the minutes of the meeting to make sure that those changes are at least thought about or addressed somehow?
I can, and I've been writing them down in the handbook.
I'll make a motion to,
I have one more question.
Yeah, do too.
Tracy, go ahead.
Oh, just real quick, I'm curious, under athletics, I'm sure there's a reason, it's on page 38, you list soccer, baseball, softball. I thought basketball is.
Rec.
They're rec
Rec,
sports.
okay, answered my question, thanks.
I have one simple thing. What's the detention, the number for listed detention? It's 2:30 to 3:30. It's like administrative detention or something? How does that happen? It's in the beginning. I didn't write page numbers, I'm sorry.
It's alphabetical, so.
Oh, it's a typo? Okay. I wondered like why you were pulling them out of class score.
It should be 3:30 to 4:30.
3:30 to 4:30? That makes
Or
sense.
actually, 3:30 to 4:15.
I thought it was a
So we can still
very
provide late bus
huge improvement
transportation
from
to those
last year.
students.
Nice. Okay, well, that makes sense. I just wondered if there was some kind of weird specific thing.
Whatever.
It looks good.
so I'll make a motion to give a general approval of the unamended handbook and look forward, so that'd be my motion, to approve the unamended handbook. And then you folks will give us an amended handbook.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Can I make a suggestion that when you have it done, just just send us a copy through email? You don't have to give us a hard
Or I
copy.
can email Jared.
Because we don't,
Yeah, I don't need any, we don't need to spend all this money on paper.
We're just gonna send it.
I'm gonna get 2 copies at home anyway.
Yeah, you have copies at home.
we know where to go if we need
Right,
them.
yeah, no, we
I
don't.
think you did a great job.
You
on
did a
it.
great job on it.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
I did the
Can't
same
wait.
thing when I came.
It's gonna be a good year.
Completely revamped the handbook when I first came in.
Jim?
One thing that came of this that I didn't foresee happening was we just tried to tie as much as we could into our policy. So our policy binders are overwhelming in our job. We're busy, so it's hard to find time to just dive into the policy binder. But through this work, we were forced to align what we're holding, students accountable for to our policy book. So it was a nice opportunity for us.
Enlightening?
It was, yeah.
All right, policies, DAF.
All right, we're getting through this. Everybody remembers we did 1 and 2 last week or 2 weeks ago. So today is 3 and 4. I'll try and go through it. This is the procurement process part of the DAF. It's DAF 3, procurement, the rules for the purchases. It allows all purchases for property and services, follows the Fed, state, local laws and regs, and it also follows the uniform guidance, district policies. It requires a system of procedures, which again, I think we already discussed. We're doing the flow chart, which will be also, it does refer to our policies, DJ, which will be referred to, will also be updated to refer to the DAF3. When we look at the DAF3, I'm going to scoot down on that page. I don't know which it is, but all the way to the bottom it says,
77.
okay, I'm not
This
using
one?
yours, I'm using mine. I'm going to say to you, if you look at it, go down to where it says A, competition, and I'm going to do the highlights of the alphabets. So DAF3, procurement, probably should have yours. Page 84, if you look at page 84 and you go to the bottom where it highlights A, competition, page 84, you get toward the bottom, and in bold type, it's A, competition. That's B, so 84, this is 84, so you go to 84 and there's A, right?
A, competition,
A,
yep.
competition. Okay, so I'm gonna now follow the alphabet at this point. Competition means we are to eliminate the unfair, anything that's unfair competitive practices. Whoever writes the requirements cannot be included in the bid. Solicitation language must be clear and accurate. Oh, okay. That's basically A. I'm gonna flip over to B, where it says solicitation language. It must be clear, it must be accurate. Board will not approve an unauthorized expenditure. Go down to C for procurement methods. Procurement methods are based on the size of the purchase. Micro purchase do not exceed 10,000, and they may be made without soliciting competitive quotes, and if the superintendent considers the price to be reasonable. Number 2 would be considered small purchases or a simplified acquisition. That's between 10,000 and just below 250, and they must have an adequate number of qualified sources out to bid. So we flip over, and sealed bids would be number 3. So you've got microed and small. Small is 10 to 250. Then you have sealed bids, which is if an item is 250 or more, or for building repair. And also it does refer you to our policies. DJE, I believe, is one of them, which will all be updated to refer to the DAF3.
Those are big numbers. I mean, we've had a protective policy that requires competitive bidding after $5,000, up to $5,000.
Right.
So, I mean, these are substantial jumps. And
So what it says, what the very, very first thing I said is it must follow Fed, state, local laws, regs, uniform guidance, and district policies. So you can't, this doesn't supersede your district policy. So yeah, I'm saying they will refer to your district policy when those are not changed. I agree, when I read them, I thought the same thing, but this is all the federal government requires, but they do say you must follow your local district rules as well.
So, why would we follow the Fed rules at all? I mean, other than getting money. Why would we, if we have something more restrictive, why would we even consider?
We have to
federal
follow the
rules?
more restrictive ones, even according to
ours.
this, right?
Which
Even
are
according,
ours.
yes. But it says you must follow all regs, which ours are more restrictive, absolutely.
How does this policy help the school district? I mean, beyond the idea of getting federal monies, how does this policy help the school district?
It helps ensure that we also follow their guidelines as well as ours. Theirs may be more restrictive, in this particular case, they're not. But in other instances, it may be more restrictive than ours is, and we do need to follow those. But we follow the most restrictive regs, even according to their own policy.
Just having come from that 2-day grant workshop, a lot of it was around this because the federal government audited the state government and found a lot of errors. With grants, you never had to go out to bid before. This is new. At the federal level, it's not new, but at DOE's level, there was never a requirement to go out to bid. So how it helps, from their perspective, how it helps in grant writing is to make sure you're not getting someone who's going to charge $1,000 a day to do something that you might be able to get for a better price. But Tim Carney, who did our federal audit last year and will be back next year to look at our policies that are being changed, said that you can have a procurement policy for federal funds that is different than a procurement policy for your regular operating budget. And he said that they will be looking for procedures in place for all of these policies.
So Ralph, if you go back to your page 84,
Okay.
and you go up to DAF 3, which says procurement, which is the federal rules for a grant.
Okay, I'm on 84. and
Okay,
looking
so
for the word
DAF 3.
procurement. Okay, second
the-
paragraph down.
Or even the very first paragraph says, all purchases for property and services made using federal funds must be conducted in accordance with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, the uniform guidance, and the district's written policies and procedures.
I just don't want this policy to be interpreted as
As a
green
district
light,
policy?
a green light to gain a bunch of federal money and be misspent, you know, I mean, so I think it's still as a board, we still have our responsibilities.
Right, agreed. This is written by the state, and they're asking, actually by Manager Daley.
And we're required to follow those policies. You know, this is a minimum of what we have to do for the federal monies alone. We still, under our policy, still have to come to you. I think it's now it's $3,000. I think it's $3,000 now.
Went to 5.
Yeah,
I think it went to 5.
But that's where we're at. So even though it says 10,000, we're still going out and to at least competitive quotes. You know, which is, you know, we usually bring that to you anyway.
And you're still, have you been sharing the assurances that you're giving the federal government with the board? I mean, this is geared to gaining federal grants.
You have to follow that.
The
once you
assurances
obtain-
that you, as a superintendent, I think the board has already taken a vote to allow you to make the
Yes.
assurances.
Yes.
Are you sharing those assurances with the board so we understand what we as a district commit ourselves to through your assurances?
To get a grant.
We haven't done that yet, as we, you know, with our new grants.
Okay.
If you'd like to see what those assurances are, we
I-
certainly can.
I
Well,
would.
We did sign off on the.
Yeah, but I mean,
general
if we have to do
assurances.
anything else, I mean, is there anything else that's gonna
There's
come
two
to us?
different, there's two different assurances. There's the general assurances, which pretty much cover this.
Yeah.
And then there's the program assurances that are the assurances, now the assurances apply to all the title grants. So I can make copies of that
sure that-
and make sure that it's available to you guys at the next board meeting.
And
To
because it's
have,
ongoing, right? I mean, the grants are always going year round, and they cover multiple years.
I mean, they've done a much nicer job at kind of consolidating the program assurances so that your assurances for Title I are very similar to your assurances for Title
Sure.
II. So that you don't have 5 packets that you're uploading into the grant system.
But
But I can make
the
a-
short answer there is yes, we
Yeah.
can certainly provide the assurances. That's not an issue at all. Absolutely.
Okay, Tracy?
All right, so,
Sorry, Tracy.
nope, Fritz. I think we got a lot accomplished. Sealed bids, if a single item or supplies, equipment amounts to $250, Then you move into a sealed bid, in order for a sealed bid to be feasible, and it goes on to describe the conditions that you must have for a sealed bid. Then it gets into the competitive proposal. This is still all under C, the procurement methods, the choices that you have for actually making a purchase that it would be approved for by a federal grant. Where competitive bids come in, I put it on my next page, is when a sealed bid is not necessary. You would have a competitive bid where people just, I'm trying to think of one of Joe's examples where we saw different bids and it wasn't sealed. We didn't have a meeting specifically to do something like that. And we get to, and a non-competitive proposal, which sometimes occurs when you simply don't have, and we've had that here as well, where they're just, it's only available by a single source. Or, but they, again, have rules to follow that you, if you fall under a non-competitive proposal. So it explains the different types of purchases that you may make. So-
As I understand the single source, you, starting in the FY20 grant year, you have to negotiate. So for instance, your guy that you want to bring in, fortunately, he's coming into under 18-19, so you don't have to negotiate. But if you wanted him next year, you'd have to try to negotiate the price with him for single source. I know.
18-19's done.
Right, but grants run 27 months. So the 18-19 grant that we're writing goes 27 months.
Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, bullet point D, said you must, contracting with small and minority businesses or women's business enterprises and labor, must make sure that they are used when possible. E is contract price analysis. A cost analysis generally means evaluating the separate costs of an element that make up a total price, and the price analysis means evaluating the total price without looking at the individual cost. Which you would do for a cost over small purchase limit of $250,000. So if we go on further to F, which is time and materials contracts, goes on to explain only if it's the only thing available, it must have a ceiling, and again, it goes into requirements for a time and materials contract, and that to make sure that the contractor is aware that they will be held accountable for their ceiling. G gets into suspension and disbarment. The person that you hire must be responsible. The superintendent has a right to debar a contractor if in fact they are on a list. There's what's called a SAM list that lists, I don't know what the actual acronym is in the SAM, it's in here somewhere, but basically there's a...
Stay away menu.
Stay away menu, exactly. It's a list of contractors that...
System for awards.
System for, right, so that...
Management.
So people know who to stay away from. And H is an additional requirement for over small purchases, additional language that they want to see in your contracts. When you go into purchases over the small, which small was over 10, actually 10 and over below 250. There's a section for bid protest. If somebody protests that their bid wasn't selected, they have 72 hours to submit the protest. The superintendent has 5 days to come back with it, and if they failure to file a protest or failure to file a written formal protest within the prescribed time, shall constitute a waiver of proceedings. And J is the last bullet on DAF3, which is the maintenance of the procurement records and how you retain all the records that shows that you followed all the rules of purchasing or procurement that I have here. It's DAF3 in a nutshell. DAF4 is basically very, very similar. It's very short. It applies to the food service program and the contractors that you use for food service. It ends right at the top of your page of 91, I guess, where either you have a mandatory contract clause, and then it'll go on down to B, where contracts with the food service management companies, and that has to comply with the guidance provided by the New Hampshire Department of Ed. And these are, again, this was very unclear, as Ann said earlier, by an audit of the state. And that the New Hampshire Department of Ed created these DAFs to make it, give a procedure to the schools to follow to comply with federal grants. But again, you must comply also with your school district's policies. And that's it. Next week will be 5 through 10. And it'll be the completion of the DAF.
Fine.
Good job, Tracy.
Okay.
Next meeting,
Next meeting. Is that okay?
next week.
Oh, did I say next week? Next meeting.
Can't be,
Okay. Well, then we will not have our meeting. I'll have it next meeting. I'm sorry, I did misspeak.
Other business.
Other business, I got two things. One is, as you recall, we had vehicles that we were disposing of through the bidding process. One of our bidders just, I guess, has decided to not purchase them because she hasn't responded to any calls, text messages, emails, smoke signals, whatever it might be. So I'm just looking for consensus to put them back out to bid.
Was there a second one? Was there a runner-up?
There may have been, I can take a look at that, but we could also see what you want to do. It's been a few months.
Yeah.
So whatever your wish is, we just want to really get them out of the parking lot, quite honestly.
I'll make a motion to have you notice it, publicly notice it, that it's two vehicles,
Two vehicles, it's the
minivan,
and the 77 passenger bus.
bus 15, right?
I don't have the number here, Ralph.
I think it is.
It's the same one we put up a bid before.
So I'll make a motion to have you publicly notice a bidding process on those two vehicles.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And the other piece of,
Joe?
oh, sorry.
Nope. Joe?
Can I have the minivan for me?
I was gonna make a joke about that, but
Cut the roof off and make it a pickup truck.
You know,
How
all
much-
kidding aside, I mean, you know, when there's a good idea that hits the table.
does it run?
That's right.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work.
How much did you get for an offer on it?
If we decide not to give it to Joe, do you really want to put that out publicly?
Right.
I think you probably already have. I think we probably already accepted the bid.
Yeah.
And you probably noticed that it wouldn't be an overwhelming loss for the school district if we didn't get the money.
Well, is that non-public, that number?
You wouldn't want to disclose that number in, if you were going to go out for auction or something else, or, be competitive. You wouldn't want to put that out there because someone would pick that up and say, this is what they got for it last time, let me give them $2 more.
But it's hard to make a decision
But-
on whether we want to give
We
it to
can-
him or not if we don't know what its value
Well,
is.
is it for the betterment of the school and for the kids in the district to?
I think having
have-
Joe a vehicle to go down to Home Depot to pick stuff up would be ideal.
Would the school benefit from you having?
Rip those seats out, you have a nice little car going on,
Go
right?
to the dump.
Yeah, I get it. I think it'd be a great idea.
And it runs okay and everything?
There's been a lot of work done to it that from what I understand.
Not, we want to put kids in any longer, we'll put Joe in it.
Ralph, what are you thinking?
What am I thinking? Can you put a plow on it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
gonna say that.
Put some chains on the rear tires.
Well, let's start with a cargo
I think it
van
would
and
be
see.
a temporary solution to an ongoing issue.
Yeah,
I think you're right, and we may benefit from it. If we do see the benefit from that, it may encourage the board to take further action for a vehicle if that's something that might be needed in the future.
I'm not really an advocate of a
I know
school
you're not.
vehicle.
We already have lots of them.
And that's a,
School buses.
but I would be in favor of, if the van was properly maintained, I look at everything, if proper maintenance, they last 30 years. But, especially if you're just driving down to the
How many miles are
Home
on it?
Depot.
Yeah, it's not going far.
no, we
To
can
the
always
num-
change our minds and
to the
sell
num- to the
it.
num-
It isn't like if we decide to try this out and see if it works, that it's.
And what kind is it?
Keep one on the, when it's not
Dodge.
competitive.
Caravan.
200,000 miles on
We'll
it.
put 300,000 miles on
Better than what I have now.
You can push it to the dump.
Right now, I have a wheelbarrow.
A lot of highway miles on it, so it should.
Yeah, I think it's, again, what we got on it was certainly.
Do you wanna hold off on
minimal.
hold the van for now and the 77 passenger back out there?
If that's the will of the board, I would certainly advocate for that, but that's.
I want to know how much it was bid for before I won't vote until I know
Do you
that.
want, we go at the end of the meeting, we can go to non-public and.
I don't know, it has to be non-public, we're leaning towards it. Because we're supposed to do non-public under certain circumstances, I don't
And
think
part of
this
that
means-
Bids are non-public.
Yeah,
for-
that would qualify.
Even though we've already talked about it in public.
Because if we don't do it, somebody already knows what we
Because
had
we consider
accepted.
you doing it again.
I know, but we've already done it in public, all I gotta do is look back,
That's true.
right? The bids are accepted in public.
If you'd like to hear that number, I certainly have no problem giving it to you, I'm just, it was my,
Well, if we're not gonna put it back out.
is it the will of the
You
board,
really
is it
don't
the
want it.
consensus, is it the
Anybody wanna hear that
consensus of
number?
this board that they want that number?
Are you really going to be able to like cut out the back and do stuff to it to
Not
make
cut
it?
out,
I'll take the seats out.
That's what I mean,
I'll
yeah.
take the seats out, but.
Yeah,
But
and
they-
you can do that?
They just come right out anyways.
We-
I think it's a good lesson for 8th grade.
We don't have a shop class.
Yeah, I mean, he can pick up things and.
I think we could pick a couple of
It's
kids to
The
probably do it
seats,
for
the
you.
seats come out with a
It
lever.
solves,
Yes,
it
and
solves a problem.
Fingers
It
get
does.
stuck in those
It
levers.
does. It
I
solves
just
the
don't
problem.
wanna contribute a big chunk of change to it.
It's just joking, really.
Well, Safety
What-
first.
what-
Do you want that number?
Yeah.
As a consensus, you want that
Yeah.
number? Great. $831.
Oh God, give it to him.
I just said it was gonna be a big loss.
Yeah, but your idea of a big loss and mine are significantly different.
I said it would not be
I
a big
know,
loss.
but you're,
Okay. Maybe.
I'll make a motion to just put the 77 passenger bus out to bid, do the bid process.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Whoa.
like another project.
Right?
So,
This is
the
a-
kids
All right.
that get
A
detention,
long time in
the
coming.
kids that get detention, they can have you fix the van.
So the last thing on here is, you wanna run that?
Oh, I have something for other too, when you're ready.
You wanna do that now while I'm setting up?
Oh, sure. Actually, that'd be great.
Yeah, Tracy.
All right. We have some news from the Career and Assessment Committee. This has been a long time in coming. Been in touch with the Department of Ed. They have a assessment and curriculum section run by Julie Couch, and they actually, I'll read it to you. The school is now partnering with the New Hampshire Department of Ed and Demonstrated Success. Demonstrated Success has a team of experienced educators that can help you bring about change in schools. They have expertise in assessment, program development, which would include curriculum alignment and development, data use protocols, technology systems development, school leadership, and teacher training. On October 3rd, this has been in the works for a while, on October 3rd, the school will be sending a team to work with Demonstrated Success to complete a data dive to help understand where the school is doing well and where they could do better. And from there, the school will work with Demonstrated Success to develop and implement practices to better help our students and achieve success. And this is all at no cost to the district.
Nice, good work, Trace.
Yay.
Good work.
Thank you, Jerry. He's been, yep, Jim, everybody on our team that's been doing.
Lots of hands in the pie.
Yep. Yes, this is very exciting,
You have a
very
question,
huge.
Rob? Something under other business, I don't know if Jen might want to expound on this, but last Tuesday I was asked, or I was given the information that Jen may not be able to be a part of the negotiating team for the contracts. And
Right.
I was asked whether or not I would step up for that. And I didn't feel as though I should just answer the question. I felt as though the school board should make a decision on that issue.
That's news to me.
Oh, well,
So I don't know where you got your information from, but it's news to me.
oh. Well, I was sitting at the table down in Concord, that's where I get the information.
Huh?
I think that pretty much came from me, I guess, because we weren't quite sure if you put the time frame of being at the meetings.
I thought that was already handled through you.
What was handled?
that my schedule was a little bit constrictive, but it seemed that it was gonna work for everybody.
I thought it would, then I talked with Gavin, he said that 6:30 would not work for him.
You didn't pass that on to me, you
I'm
passed
sorry, I
on to me that it would work. That was the last I heard from you, was that it was not a problem.
I think my last conversation was I didn't think it would be a problem, and then my conversation with Gavin, if I didn't pass that on to you, my mistake.
You didn't,
You guys wanna
so
work
look into that,
You guys
Ralph, a
wanna
little
work
bit, and that might be an issue.
I didn't say anything other than what I felt I
That's fine,
should do,
yes.
that the board needs to
Absolutely. If-
discuss.
If I can't work it out,
You'll let us know.
I'll jump right on
Okay.
that train, okay?
Well,
Well, then I think it
Again,
does have to be
it's-
redecided. If you can't do it, like you said, it has to come back to the table.
Sure.
I think it should.
Right, yeah, it should.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Actually, I did ask Bob earlier, when we do find out what happens, what do we do? And we had said it has to come back to the board.
Okay,
For what, that?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, to
Yep.
read.
To what do we do if it can't meet your
So you knew that
guidelines?
it wasn't gonna work either?
No, I just knew.
It's
I
not like
didn't.
this
No,
is
no,
all
no,
news
no,
to
no,
me.
no. We didn't know. We didn't know if it was a possibility, but what happened if it wasn't a possibility? Which.
All right, we'll
It's a
figure it out.
chance.
Sorry about
There's
that,
a-
folks.
No, there's
The mistake is mine.
It's an absolute chance that that could, because it was a concern for me, and so I put it out there, whether or not there would be anybody who's willing to adjust schedules at all. Because last time we did it, there was 7 a.m. meetings, there were, I mean, it was all over the place. So I figured maybe we could make it all over the place and make it work for me at the same time.
Yep. No. So it's still in the process.
So let's see how many times I end up in the hospital before
Yeah,
that.
Jen, we want
before
you to
that.
stay well,
I
so-
can't take days off from work when I'm doing that.
Yeah. Nope. We want you to stay well. So.
All right, Joe, everyone else you have?
So that piece is I wanted to go over the end of the year financials with you, just so you knew what was going on. So I'm going to start out, Marie's going to put the PowerPoint up here, so.
Okay, that's fine.
By the way, I'm expecting 9, Tracy.
What?
I'm expecting no days in the hospital. It was
My
a joke.
fingers-
It was
my
a joke.
fingers crossed.
So there shouldn't be any.
You don't need a copy?
No, I've got one in front of me.
Wow, this is a very pretty presentation.
Well, it's, you want to have some color to it, because there are some points in the color is necessary.
Terry, I like presentation. It's critical.
I knew you.
Thank you.
The monitor, are you looking
The
for the,
handbook's way better this year.
It is.
After many years doing this job, there's very little I take personally.
Don't break the water bottle.
Yeah, I'm aggravated. You don't, probably not tonight.
All right, that's fine.
Unless I calm down, I've taken an anxiety pill.
We don't want you to.
Can I have some of that, Jen?
My
And don't fall down.
my issue is,
Wait, guys,
I know, but I'm pissed.
You want the,
If it's not the first
But
time
you
you've
guys
done
want
it
the
to me.
lights down? Want the lights down? Oh, a little.
People can't see you. We don't have many lights. I mean, it's one or,
It's one or
you put one off, they're all off. There we go. Not too
that
bad.
looks good.
Joe, can someone hand one of those that are on the floor here? I just offered mine, I forget.
Frank.
Frank.
I guess it's either on or off.
Does everybody have one?
Okay, so I want to take a moment just to go through the end of the year financials. So we're going to talk a little bit about revenues, expenditures, where we ended up, regular ed, special ed, and what the overall picture of the district was at the end of FY19. She can. Donna, do you want to put the camera on the screen? Can you get that?
Yeah.
Or?
I'd have to be on the other side of the room.
Okay. So if we look at the first page of your packet, the second page, actually, not the cover page.
People watching the meeting want to see that though.
Yeah, I
I think
agree.
you should pause. That's what I was there
Yeah, we
for.
can do that. We can wait if you want to move the
Anybody else
camera.
have
Yeah.
it?
Absolutely.
Screen?
I think people
good
watching
point,
this
yeah.
are going to be frustrated
Yep.
if anybody watches it.
Okay. So if you're looking at this, if you,
Am I
Yeah.
hidden away?
no, I'm good. I got it right in front of me.
Okay.
So if you're looking at this sheet here, this is the revenue statement for fiscal year 19. Let me just explain a little bit about the revenue, the way it's laid out. As you see, there are 5 columns. You've got the appropriated estimated revenue, so this is what we expected when we did the budget, and when we started the budget process in 2018. The second column is what we've received to date. The third column is the balance. The fourth column is the unanticipated revenues. So those revenues that we received that we did not anticipate when we started writing the budget or when we finished the budget process. And the fifth column is the explanation, a brief explanation of some of those revenues. So if you look at the first line, you see the deficit appropriation. Now, we didn't anticipate that when we wrote the budget, but you know, as we went through the budget, this last year's budget process, we ended up having the warrant article number 6. That was a $200,000 warrant, as we anticipated a deficit on our current budget. The second line is the town appropriation. So this is the amount of money that was raised by taxes by the town for the school budget. And if you look over on the fourth column, you see unanticipated revenue. This is the number that wasn't expected. You know, when we went through the budget, we found this here recently. There was a food service funding that was written into the budget, and I believe it was done because of the problem that was had in the previous year with when they didn't have when we didn't have a food service contract. It was started at $167,000. It's still $167,000. It wasn't touched.
So we had that sitting there the whole time,
Correct.
and we didn't know it?
It was listed as a revenue. It wasn't listed as an expenditure, so it wasn't listed like you put it in the food service and you have this money in a line item. It was listed as a revenue, not something that we were looking at. So then you have the third column is the revenue of the $340,000 from the fund balance from fiscal year 17. That's carried over, and that is added into what we had for the town appropriation. And then you see we also have an unanticipated revenue of $2,000 for preschool tuition. We have interest for on our checking account for $1,100, almost $1,200. You see we have a $2,744 unanticipated revenue from New Hampshire Retirement, and then the state adequacy grant with an unanticipated $7,325 in addition to the $1,165,220 that we already had. In the bottom line, we have the Medicaid reimbursement, which was unanticipated of $17,435. All in all, you see the very bottom line of our unanticipated revenues was $397,709.41.
Are you taking questions during or at the end?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Why were the 7,325 and the 17,435, why were they unanticipated? Did we not know that we were going to get those revenues?
I think those are changes. Again, you had an anticipated of $1,165,220 in the adequacy grant, and then we ended up receiving $7,325 in addition
They
to
just
that.
threw in some extra? More than we asked for?
So, we get an estimate in the fall
Mm-hmm.
of what we're gonna get in adequacy grant.
Mm-hmm.
And then, then they adjust, it says it right in the formula that they adjust it again in April
Okay.
of the spring.
Mhm.
So you don't actually know what if you get more, you get less.
Okay.
So when they adjusted it in April, we were fortunate enough to get the $7,000.
I thought we knew in April that we were getting that $7,325.
Because they look at the average daily membership.
So I'm just asking, we knew in April. That's what I'm asking. We knew in April
Yes.
that we were getting
Yes,
that.
it was on our financial report at that
Okay.
point. Well, when we got the money, if you look back at our monthly financial reports, it was stated on it.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and
That's fine.
actually see when we actually would deposit that money.
And so how'd the other one come about?
With regard, can I speak to Medicaid? Is that the one you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah. So Medicaid was, we anticipated 80,000, which was a little lower than what we got the year before.
Mm-hmm.
When we budgeted.
Is this another situation where you ask for money and you don't get an exact total until a certain time?
No, this is a situation where our related service people do their billing through our Medicaid company that does all of the billing of related services. So the month of June is typically when most of that billing gets completed, because that's speech language, OT, PT, just catch up on the month of June. So that 17,000 extra, I think we started realizing maybe mid-May that we were gonna see more than the 80,000.
So what's the time frame that 17,000 covers? You're not talking the whole year that people didn't do their billing. You're talking like the
No,
last
people did the
month?
billing throughout, but that 17,000, I would say, was May, June.
May, June?
Okay.
There was discussion back in February and March about the state adequacy education grant being over. You know, if you were watching the news, Channel 9 News did have a story about there was an abundance of money that had to be divvied up. And they were trying to calculate what districts needed it the most and stuff like that.
Was
So
that this?
It wasn't a complete surprise. There was some extra money in that. It was a surprise to us now, but not that.
Any other questions on revenue? Okay, so next thing we'll be going through the functions within the budget from 1,100 through 2,900. So in the regular ed function, you can see that we had a savings in salary of $19,940. You can also see that we had a $95,154 that was not budgeted properly for health insurance. Dental was under budget by $2,137, and that can be from somebody changing their policy. FICA, we had you can see we had $3,118 in savings, and retirement of $14,176 in savings. Contracted service, you notice we have ESOL services is a deficit of $5,818, and that's due to a student that came in after the budgeting was done.
That's one student?
That's one student, correct. And you can see also that we have tuition that was under by $19,169. Supplies, you can see, we did freeze the budget. Go ahead.
Is that 19,000 somebody who moved in? Is that
No.
is that the situation, like somebody came that we weren't anticipating?
No, it wasn't budgeted properly to begin with.
The tuition rate was
Was
the
off.
estimated tuition rate when was budgeted was, the number wasn't used, the right number
It's just that
So-
one,
wasn't
it
used.
just seems so long ago that
It
we talked
does.
about that.
I
that
know.
So
doesn't
what was
seem like it
what was
applies.
budgeted per student
Yeah.
was $12,665 for 176 students.
Mhm.
The actual was $12,993 for 174 students.
Okay.
Golf
Still
cart.
have a couple of ghost students there.
I think we
I
put
know
the
during this
ghost
budgeting
in.
process for a while, we were adding one or two students' tuitions.
I'd
just-
have to take a look at it,
It's exact. When we budgeted for 20, there is no ghost position, there's no additional, we budgeted based on what the enrollment was at that point in time when we did the budget.
Is it a safe practice to add those?
I thought we were
It's
told
up
we
to the
couldn't.
board, that's the board decision
Weren't we
on
told
what
we
direction
couldn't
to
do
do
that?
when we do the budget process.
I thought we were told we couldn't add ghost students.
We were told that.
We were by, do you remember by whom?
You know.
I don't remember either, but we were specifically told we couldn't add, even if we thought it was gonna go up. We had to use the numbers that we
Oh,
had.
I do remember, it was at the cutting meeting, and yes, I do remember.
At the budget, with the budget committee or with Chris?
No, with, yeah,
With Chris Tyree?
in that room there, we were told.
No, we were not allowed to use ghosts.
Right.
Well, can I clarify that? Can I do that?
Yep.
So, I don't remember the part that you couldn't, for budgeting purposes to, support the student needs. I don't know if there's anything that prevents you to add a person or two additional student, not knowing who's moving in and out. But the recommendation from the auditor, I know I said, was that, the previous year, there was $100,000 reduced on the tuition line in 18, which resulted in a deficit in tuition of $200,000 in 18, when we closed the books in 18. And what saved the district that year was there was a saving in the 1,200 line of $200,000. So that helped offset the tuition that was not budgeted appropriately. It was just arbitrarily reduced by $100,000, and the auditor indicated that that was not budgeting appropriately for those purposes, to make sure that you have you cover what your expenses are. And those are contracted services that you can't modify.
Was the auditor saying that you shouldn't take monies out of the function, the 1,200 lines, and cover the general
No.
ed lines?
What the intent is that if you know you have 100 students, you should be budgeting for 100 students going forward. And that's what we did in 20. But in 18, I think it happened at the deliberate session, I wasn't here. There was a motion made to reduce $100,000 of the operating budget, and it was taken out of the tuition line, which those are contracted services that the district is obligated to pay. That was just an observation.
But in the deliberative session, I think I was there, I'm pretty sure, that 100,000 was out of the operating budget, and then it was up to the, everybody else to decide where that $100,000 shortfall would. Okay.
So when all that is said and done in the regular ed, we end up with a deficit of $77,130. The next slide is the 1,200 special education, and you can see there in the top 5 lines, you have salaries, health, dental, FICA, and retirement, and that comes to, we have here, that was $177,989, and that's all due to 2 ABA tutors and 1 paraprofessional that needed to be hired throughout the year for new students that had moved in, as well as you're looking at the $21,140 for the increase in the 1 day a week of OT services.
So basically, this whole thing is kids who had IEPs that moved into town.
So I want to just clarify, it's not throughout the year. Those 3 students were unanticipated because they either were identified or came to us after the budget was approved.
Right.
Go ahead, Ralph, I can't see you, sorry.
So, that's all right, so learning that over-identification may be happening, and hiring follows that, is it, every time we hire an ABA tutor, they have to have support? Is that correct? I mean, doesn't the tutor come on one-on-one on the student, but they still need support?
Well, we
Is that how
have-
that happens?
So we have ABA tutors that are one-on-one with the student. We also contract with a board-certified behavior analyst that consults on students. This year, that person will also be clinical supervisor of the partner program. So the special educators supervise the ABA tutors. The BCBA consultant provides documentation, behavior support plans, observations of what to do, what changes to make, pretty much on a weekly basis to make the student more successful.
The beginning of what you said, did you say over-identified?
Yeah, I caught that.
Yes.
So are you implying that, and I don't have an issue either way, but are you implying that we claim too many of our students have an IEP?
He's heard me say that.
So you think you are the
2
person who's
years
in charge
ago,
of it?
When I did the special ed report 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
I stated that, in my opinion, we had over-identified speech language identifications and developmental delay identifications.
So, and I might not be right with this, but aren't you the one who's in charge of identifying it?
No,
No?
a team identifies, but what I think what has happened, and we're working hard to change that, is so a student gets referred to preschool. Typically, they're either identified with speech and language or developmental delay. They move from preschool to kindergarten with that identification, and then they kind of keep moving on without a real good process of have improved that. I mean, that was 2 years ago that I identified, that's probably when you heard it. And we have improved that process. And we're looking at, again, this year when I come to you with a budget, staffing that will, I hope, help us lessen our identification as well.
So is there now a program between preschool and second grade that is, or I mean, not a program, but an event or a testing or something that
So
everybody's
special
going through, so that
So special ed students have to be reevaluated every 3 years to identify whether or not they continue to have, show evidence of a disability. And what we did this year was we were very specific at how we placed our rehab assistants. So we have a speech rehab assistant, which is a paraprofessional who is able to bill Medicaid, because we call them rehab assistants because they're working with kids that have medical needs, so speech and
fully billed
language.
for them? Is that fully billed to Medicaid?
They bill, I'm not sure the percentage that they pay.
Close, okay. That's good.
So what we did this year, and we saw success, was we identified one person to do rehab assistance in speech, one person to do rehab assistance in occupational therapy. So they're going, instead of them being a paraprofessional in one classroom, they're working in multiple classrooms, doing drills supervised by the speech pathologist, so that the skills that one would hope a child would gain by second grade are being reinforced more closely than they had.
And then they're tested or,
Yeah.
did you meet with any resistance about pulling an IEP from any kids? The parents like that or don't like that?
Parents are always really tentative about taking that identification away. And often parents will ask us to, when we take the identification away, they'll say, well, let's put them on 504. And I personally am very against that. If we're saying the child is not disabled any longer, that means we're saying the child should be successful in the classroom.
Right.
It shouldn't need a document for the child to be successful in the classroom.
Right. Okay.
So some parents are resistant, some parents celebrate it. I mean, we try to celebrate it.
Right. Yeah. Okay, great. Good answers.
Okay, so the next line down, you see contracted services. And this is unanticipated speech language for charter school, increase in our board certified behavior analyst services, and this was for 3 new students. That was at $41,406 in the deficit. You see we had some slight savings on testing. We had $2,299 in our Stratford Learning Center membership. You can see we had a deficit in Medicaid of $651, and that is different than the unanticipated revenues of $17,000 that we saw on the previous one of the previous sheets. This is really about the billing of the billing service that we use, and that was under budgeted by $651. Then you see in public high school we had an increase in special ed services for high school and charter school, and that was $9,499. Then out of district for elementary, you can see that we had a deficit of $5,800. Out of district for middle school, we had a deficit of $44,731, and that was an unanticipated district placement. And you can see the high school is a deficit of $8,810 for 2 unanticipated placements. And it should be noted here, when we applied the $105,000 from the Special Education Trust Fund, this is the line that we applied that to. So when we look at the bottom where it says the total of negative $309,692, that would have been $105,000 more without that special ed trust.
So I
Yes.
do have a question about that I didn't ask this morning. So these deficits are after the 109 was applied?
105.
105.
Correct.
Tracy.
Where is the line where it shows the 105?
That would be on the tuition out of district high school, $8,810.
So couldn't we show that a little differently, or I guess it doesn't matter. Okay, I know where it is. So tuition out of district
Yeah.
high school is the line that would have been 113,000
Yeah.
under over budget.
Right. Then you see, we have a savings of $841 in travel, and the budget freeze, we saved a slight bit of money on supplies, books, print media, and software. In equipment, we have a deficit of $2,827 for an unanticipated piece of equipment that we needed. And if you look at the very bottom, our total is at $309,692 in the deficit. Any further questions there?
I have a
Yes.
So, this, just want the board to understand that the school district does not have a middle school, and as far as the Department of Education, it's a K-8 school. So, it's considered elementary, K-8 elementary, even though there is a section we section it off as middle school, but we do not have a middle school criteria. This is the way it was budgeted. And those were the numbers that were in those lines, but they're associated mostly to elementary school.
Okay.
And going forward, there will be no middle school. And if you look at the reports that we're sending to the state, the DOE 25 and the MS, there is no middle school, because this is not considered a middle school. I just want to make that clear.
But the largest deficit was associated with high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which would be the tuition out of district,
Correct.
high school.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously, because that would have been 113 or 14.
Yes.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah, so moving on to the next slide, you see we had the 1410 co-curricular activities, and we had improperly budgeted those salaries to a tune of $10,230 in the deficit, and along with that, the FICA retirement that goes along with those salaries. You can see we also had contracted service. That would be Camp Calumet. The number budgeted there was $3,480, more than we had anticipated with the number of kids we had going.
Did it go up? Is that what the deal
It
is?
went up, yeah. Yeah, the number of students.
So it was under budgeted.
Oh,
It was
so
under budget, correct.
It was the number of students,
Yeah,
not
and
the price.
there might have been a slight increase in the cost as well, as what we had anticipated. Supplies, you can see there's a $1,400 savings in the budget freeze and a small savings on dues. Athletics, we didn't budget properly for $1 under salaries under the athletics, and there was a savings you can see in the FICA retirement umpire referees.
Sorry.
So-
Okay. We being the school, not this particular group.
No,
Did
just
not budget.
when I say we, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I just want
Yeah.
to make that loud and clear.
Yeah.
It was not
We-
this group here.
We bring the budget, the administration, we bring the budget to you, and
The budget that was created at this
Correct.
time.
Yep.
It was not created here.
And so then supplies, we had the
Thanks.
budget freeze, and so there was a savings of about $872 along with dues as well for $45. And you can see in summer school, we had savings across the board. Any questions there?
There is one question, and you don't have to go back.
Yeah.
The salaries were, we did not have more people in those lines. If I'm not mistaken, the amount that was to be budgeted is actually in the teacher contract, and it was not
Correct.
put in. The amount of people in that line, stayed the same. It just wasn't put in correctly. Okay. That's it.
Was that it wasn't put into the budget correctly? Way
Correct.
back when?
Yep.
So
Based
that
on-
prior board.
By prior
Okay.
boards, or prior, whoever built the budget. Ralph's got his
Did-
hand up.
Yeah, Ralph.
Did I read in the minutes somewhere along the line where these stipends are tax exempt? Is that part of the process? Did I read that as part of the discussion?
No, because they're actually, it's income for, most of the people who are doing the co-curricular activities are staff. Because they're an employee of the district, they have to be taxed on it. They have to be taxed on it, and they're an employee, they have a contract with the district, so it's a continued contract.
I think I know what you're referring to, though. Are you referring to the retirement? I believe that's why there's the refund in the retirement, is because previously it was
I
paid
can't-
on stipends.
I don't know
And we
that.
got it back,
I don't-
remember?
I don't know that. Sorry,
just-
I don't know that.
Yeah,
we
see,
got
Jen's
little-
saying yes. I remember that too.
Little checks that kept coming back because when the audit was done, the auditors came and said, you were not you.
The wellness program, it's not the co-curricular.
Not this one? Okay.
It's the wellness program that we should not take the retirement from.
Okay.
Because those because we don't know who's gonna get that, so it's not part of their contract. This is part of the contract. We don't issue contracts for welcome
Okay.
phone as part of the
All right, I
program.
just thought I could clear it up, but it didn't.
Thank you.
Everything's true to me, though. That's what I remember someone saying the same thing. We
Sandy?
should look into
We're
that.
approaching 8 o'clock. We might
I'll make
have
a motion to go past 8 o'clock. All in
All
favor?
in favor?
All right.
Don't we have to do?
I bet I'm more tired than you are
I think
tonight,
we
so
have to do a roll
I'm
call.
gonna be racing you for the door.
Sandy said it should be a roll call. Call by.
Johnson, aye.
Blood eye.
Macaulay, aye.
Okay, I will.
All right, good.
Okay, so on to the next slide is the 2120 guidance social worker. You can see we, in salaries, health and dental, we have a deficit. And that was a change in staff in the special ed office, but there's also that staff from who does work, the secretary who works with the special ed guidance and social work. And across the board, beyond that, we had the FICA, retirement testing, travel, and supplies. There was a budget freeze and savings. There was a deficit of $29 in dues for a total of $1,719 in the positive. On the nurse function, 2130, you can see that we had a deficit of $3,083 under retirement that wasn't
Oh, for
budgeted.
goodness sakes, sorry.
We had some other savings.
Take my medicine.
Had some savings in the budget freeze. We ended up with a total of $579 in the deficit on the nurse function.
Yeah, okay, that, I'm all set, thank you.
Mhm.
I was under budgeted for retirement, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken, but it was not budgeted at all for retirement.
That's what I thought it was.
It was not budgeted
budgeted,
at
but-
all for, I'm surprised that it's only over by that amount, but, okay, that's it.
And speech, there wasn't anything spent out of speech supplies. Any questions there? Professional development, 2210. You can see out of professional development, we had a tuition, we had a savings of $8,575, and workshops, $11,499 for a total of $20,074. In library, we had a slight deficit in salaries of $163, a slight deficit in dental of $12, and a deficit of $624 in FICA. On books and print media, typically we have the A to Z budgeted. It wasn't budgeted this past year for some reason, and it was a deficit of $594 to continue with the A to Z learning. And then there was a deficit of $8 in dues. There was a total in the positive of $835 in the library. Any questions there? The next line is the 2310 school board. I think the number that jumps out right to everybody is the legal fees, a deficit of $33,172. Largely in part to negotiations that weren't budgeted, but also a lot of my time spent with them discussing 91A requests. You can also see we had a $6,000 savings on ads and notices, a $522 in the deficit on background checks. Ballot printing was $1,669, over budget, excuse me. And you can see we had dues at a deficit of $38, and miscellaneous, well, it says Wakefield Scholarship, it's a combination. Wakefield Scholarship is $500, but we also had some food that was purchased during the negotiation process for all the negotiators. And that leaves the school board line in deficit of $28,203.
Jen?
Is the breakdown of the legal fees, is that easy enough to obtain? I feel like not all, but many of the 98A requests are just harassment. And I would love to know how much of the taxpayers' money was spent on that.
Yeah,
Is it easily broken
Yeah,
down?
I've got it broken down. I think I brought it already to one meeting.
I'd
and-
like to know.
Yeah, I can bring it back and look at it.
I'd be interested in seeing that too, and I think a lot of that money could have been saved if we had an experienced administrator knowing the 91A and applying it legally. And just
Well-
not calling up and asking questions all the time.
Well,
We gotta learn, everybody learns. You learn
Well,
your trade.
that's why you hire experienced people.
I will say to my own credit that I've spoken to other administrators who are somewhat surprised at the number of 91As that I deal with who have been at it for a number of years and haven't received any 91As in the course of 3 years. So while I certainly would acknowledge there's a lot for me to learn in 91As, I think I have certainly had a tidal wave of experience coming at me in the last few months.
Actually, hold on.
I think you've done good, Jeff.
I appreciate that. I'm just saying, I've been drinking from a
Wait,
fire
hold on,
hose in
you were saying-
regard to 91As.
You can't give out 7,000 emails. The school could get sued by far more than the at least $3,000 to $5,000 of attorney fees that had to go through. If we gave out confidential information, you could be sued for millions.
Okay, I'd like to address that point, because all of the time that you spent doing that, you didn't do it very well. You get contemporaneous emails, and somebody's addressing one issue in one conversation, turn the page over, that conversation's blacked out, but you turn the third page over, there it is again, all that information that just got redacted out of one sheet was forgotten about on 2 other sheets. So the inadequacy was not on the part of the people requesting information.
You don't
Right.
see, I mean,
Point of order.
you don't see any of this as like
No.
hypocritical.
Harassment? No.
Let's continue on.
Right,
Not a
point of
continue
order,
on.
so
I
we
do.
can keep going.
In regard to 2320, the SAU administration expense, what you see here in front of us is there are a number of changes to the full-time superintendent. For salaries, health, and dental, FICA, there was a savings of $380, and there was a deficit of $5,488. Now you see a big deficit here. Now there is some savings on when we flip the page and we go to the principal's line. There'll be a savings. It won't balance out the number, the amount we have here for the change of full-time superintendent, but there is a savings. So then we go down to the maintenance agreement of $1,718. That was basically that was with our copy company where we had made more copies than was budgeted, and that I don't know what the number was. It was actually budgeted, but we spent a lot more on copying. The copy lease was over budget by $262, and advertising was over by $685. Supplies and forms over by $944. And then we see some savings as well, in software and computer hardware, dues and fees, in our indirect cost allocation, which comes from our indirect costs that we receive back from the grant management. We still end up with a deficit of $8,827 in the SAU administration line. Any further questions there?
So we got a full-time superintendent for that cost, okay?
Well, and then the offsets in the next.
I know it offsets in the next one.
Yep, and so going to the next page at 2410, the principal, you see we have a savings of $4,748. Salaries, $14,223 in health, $106 in dental, a deficit of $2303 in FICA. Retirement was $255, and again that came out to about around $19,000 in savings. So not quite what we didn't have the deficit we had in the superintendent, but certainly a large savings in the principal. Nothing was spent on tuition, so there was a $7,000 savings. PD was a $1,700 savings. We had budget freeze on repairs and maintenance that weren't necessary. Copy of lease was in deficit by $883. Plus postage was over by $1,235. And then we see we've got savings on printing, travel, supplies. The software deficit of $1,111 on the Power School that was not budgeted properly. Dues were $492 savings, and graduation expenses were $72 savings. Any questions in principle?
I have a question. Yes. So by switching to the full-time superintendent and adjusting the other salaries, we netted $19,000, and we came away with a full-time superintendent.
I would say the
correct?
difference between the principal and the SAU administration function, was savings about $19,000.
Okay.
I just think we need to have people stop making copies and mailing them, and then everything else would fall in line.
Oh.
Fiscal services in line 2510. We had a savings in salary of $4,700, dental $65, FICA $616, retirement $745. $47. We did have a deficit of $95 in courses and conferences. The auditor, the savings was about almost $11,000. You had a question?
Well, I just wanted to say that the $17,000 software is is something that is a maintenance fee that's there every year and just was omitted
Correct.
in the budgeting process from the previous.
Something we can't do without.
Something we cannot do without is like not being able to.
And what happened there, you had a function that was eliminated, and the software, maintenance agreement software, that was in that function that was eliminated, it wasn't carried forward.
No, the physical services was part of the 2320.
Yep,
It was
I
part of
remember.
SAU services before.
Mhm.
And previous budgeting process, they decided to add additional functions, as you see here, and they also added functions in the transportation to break out the transportation. And that was the attempt here, is to break out the financial services versus the superintendent administrative services. So when they was a line there for a maintenance agreement originally in the SAU 2320, but when they tried to break it away, somehow it was missed, and the money wasn't carried over into the new function of 2510.
Sloppy.
Okay, so, and then at the bottom there, you see we have a deficit of $41,608, which is a penalty we paid for IRS filing deadline. That was offset by a savings from financial software conversion that's been postponed. That's to $56,266. Overall, we ended up with a net in the positive of $15,575 on that, on fiscal services. Any questions there?
I do.
Is that-
I just want to confirm that the IRS filing was prior to, this board was prior to the IRS filing fee and not part of this administration.
Good, Ralph.
So that line, the software, financial software conversion, is that the same monies that were explained to this board as enabling the hiring of the superintendent?
Yes.
That's the same line, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
For next year, not this
For
year.
the- for this current fiscal year.
The new year.
Good.
So,
I'm sorry, Gary.
yeah.
Can the public ask questions at this point, or any point during this
No,
presentation?
no.
We have to.
No.
I thought.
So the next slide is the 20, you gotta forgive me, my computer died, so I'm using the cheats now. 2610 operations and maintenance. You see we have this, savings in salary, health, FICA, retirement, and contracted services. Where we see a discrepancy here is the utilities for oil, electricity, propane, things of that nature. And look at my paperwork here, excuse me.
PowerPoint? Terry, do you want my charger?
No, it was,
It's his notes.
it was my notes, it's.
Do you want a light?
Need a light?
No, I thank you, I'll get it right here. Sorry for the delay. Okay, so we had a deficit this year of $13,670. I just want to bring it back a couple of years. So in the 15-16 school year, we budgeted, and I'll use round numbers here, $129,000 for utilities. We ended up spending $99,500. In 16-17, we dropped the budgeted amount from $129,000 down to $122,000, and we still spent more, well, $123,000, and we still spent less than the year before, where we spent $92,000 instead of $99,500. 17-18, we dropped the budgeted number further to $112,800, and we spent $112,000. The following year, 18-19, this past fiscal year, we spent we budgeted $104,751, and we ended up spending, is it $18,000? It was $118,000. So we ended up again with that deficit of about $13,670. about 13,670. This year we budgeted $111,257. So we'll have to wait and see where we end up at the end here. But again, we keep dropping down that budget number. We got stung with it a little bit this year, but we've had,
Well, yeah, so this should be a problem, because didn't the cost of water just go up like 100% or something?
yeah.
So that's gonna be a problem.
Well, it's part of the $13,000 from them.
Yeah, but is it going to be more? It could be, again,
Coming up
because
this
we
year, I mean.
dropped it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's up now, it's,
Yeah.
you know.
We've raised it up a little bit. We've raised it more than we did from last year, but it's hard telling where we're going to be. Okay, so that's what that is. I just want to give you that little bit of history there. We had savings, rubbish and snow removal, care of buildings, and care of grounds. In maintenance and repair buildings, we had a deficit of $17,899, and we had the big sprinkler repair at $16,723, the lead copper water compliance testing for $700, the recirculation pump replacement $1,500, heat detector repaired $1,000, and repaired doors and locks $2,000. Then we also had the commercial mold remediation at $3,900.
And we don't have a contingency fund for maintenance, correct? Okay.
Just real quick, I know it's a little bit off, but is the water situation taken care of in the lower grades at this point?
Let Joe answer that if you want to.
The lead?
I've emailed the state, and she has emailed me back saying that we should have our signs up, which we do.
Mm-hmm.
And the next step is to get a local contractor in here to figure out where it's coming from.
So, we knew this all summer long, and the little kid, this is like first grade, right?
In order for us to get this remediated, we're gonna have to start breaking down walls.
But this should have been a priority. Kids washing their hands, I mean, they can't read that it's not potable water. That's an issue to me. That's more important than a lot of the other
Water's
stuff
turned
here.
off right now in those 3 faucets.
So the kids don't have a bathroom in the lower grades?
They're gonna have to go to another bathroom. This isn't just flip the switch and.
No, but this
make
is
it
an
happen.
important one.
It is.
This is
I know,
way
but-
more important than several of the other things we've talked about.
And we're still trying to figure out how the grant's working for this, trying to figure out who the right players are, who the other schools are that are working on this remediation that they have to take care of. This,
It seems like this would have been a priority to me.
it has been. I mean, I've been working on it along with everything else.
Okay. You can see we have a savings in rental equipment, property liability insurance. We had in the deficit of $895 in phones, $62 in travel. We had a savings due to the budget freeze, supplies, equipment, and furniture and fixtures, and dues and professional development. We end up in a deposit of $3,915 on operations and maintenance. Any questions there? 27-21, regular ed transportation. Had a savings of $19,000 in salary. Health, we had a savings. Dental, we had a savings. FICA, we had a savings. Retirement, we had a deficit of $565. The consultants, we had a savings of $500. Contracted service, we had an unanticipated, the renter repeater for $46,660. We had the driver train that we added in there this past spring for a deficit of $1,265 testing. For our drivers, a deficit of $1,374. Repair and maintenance, we had a savings of $17,871. We had an unanticipated vehicle lease at $19,570. Insurance, $8,149 savings. $62 in savings in travel, $349 in deficit on supplies, and a savings of $6,525 in fuel. And equipment replacement, $75.13 savings. Any questions on regular student transportation?
Just the vehicle lease, that was budget discrepancy. How do we, I wasn't here, I don't think, for that kind of thing, so I'm just wondering, that's almost the cost of, that's more than we just spent on a new vehicle, right? A new Caravan?
So I guess, after the budget was passed for 19, so sometime in 18, it was determined that they needed a new bus. So they went out, so a new lease was,
77 passengers?
what?
That's a bigger bus.
I don't have that answer. I don't have that answer. But a new bus was ordered to accommodate the necessity for another vehicle. So it was not budgeted for. So that was, based on when the purchase of the bus occurred, that was the deficit in 19. We budgeted appropriately that new lease in the 20 budget, but there was a time difference there for that $19,000 of that vehicle that was determined that was necessary at the time.
So can you get me the information on what size vehicle it was at some point?
Sure.
It doesn't have to be
Sure,
tomorrow.
we will, thank you.
I was there, and I'm pretty sure it was a 77 passenger bus. It was.
So there wasn't enough money in the capital reserve fund to get the,
Correct.
thank you.
So, obviously, we were short an employee, a bus driver. That's why the salaries are, it appears we have one less driver. Is that the case going forward? Is that what did we not need that driver?
As of right now, we have our drivers. I know we may need one part-time driver, and that's something that they're working on in the transportation department.
So we didn't have to have it last year, or we got around it last year, but we
We got
also
around
ended
it,
up
correct.
having the manager
Driving.
not having enough hours to finish out the year.
Correct.
For her contract, so, okay, that's all.
That is
Just want
it.
to understand.
Hey, 2722 special education student transportation. You can see we had a savings of $50,890 in salaries, health, dental, FICA. We did in contracted service, we were over by $3,585. We ended up in the end with a $58,236 savings.
How did salaries get missed by $50,000? Anybody have, no? Okay, that's all.
Well, it was budgeted, I don't know.
Okay.
Athletic student transportation, the salaries were over by $8. Field trip co-curricular, we had a savings of all total $2,680. Technology, you can see that repair and maintenance is over the budget by $7,800 for the Mac computer, and I think largely in part that's due to our computers are getting older. They're 7 years old, and we have more and more repairs that are needed for them. You can see that software maintenance is up. We had a savings of $1,141. Supplies $445. Computer equipment replacement. We had our E-rate that we received, but this was, still we had $3,476 beyond that. We still ended up with in the positive $325. Other benefits, disability insurance, we had a savings of $2,060. We had a deficit of $179 for life insurance. Unemployment insurance, savings of $13,000. Wellness incentives, a savings of $3,900. Workers' comp, a savings of $17,000 for a total of $36,218. Line 50, function 5221, transfers to from food service. You can see we had a deficit of $6,800 in the meal price shortfall. We were required to put the additional meal prices, and we didn't do that, so we ended up having $6,800 that we should have gone up to meet that requirement. Then we also had $8,511 on negative student meal balances, and it was a total of $15,311.
End of the school year, did you send those people a bill?
I didn't send them a bill this
But
year.
should we? I mean,
did.
it's,
Did you?
We did. At the end of June, we sent them a bill,
Okay.
and
I
we did
thank
get
you.
some money back.
Okay.
So in June we did. We probably got about $1,500 of payment from that.
there's got to be some way.
Other schools have tried, and they've made the news.
So our grand total overall from all the functions is a negative of $242,862. So let's summarize this whole piece. The regular ed function, we had some lines in the negative, and we had some lines that were in the positive. The ones that were in the negative, we ended up with $144,555.37. Our regular ed functions that were in the positive came to $153,150.09. We had a total in the positive on the regular ed function of $8,594.72. Same thing in special ed. We had some lines that were over and some lines that were under. The special ed lines in the special ed function came to a total, that were in the negative, came to a total of $309,692.38. The lines that were in the positive came to $58,235.82 for a total of $251,456.56 in the negative. Overall, between the negative in the negative in the special ed and the positive in the regular ed, we ended up with a negative of $242,861.84 overall. So this next slide, you know, we're looking at the total fund equity beginning balance as we went back to the revenue when we talked about the money that was remaining from fiscal year 17, excuse me, fiscal year 18, was $340,013.06. The actual revenues were $9,393,160. The actual expenditures were $9,578,581.84. The fund balance at the end of the fiscal year for this year was $154,591.22. Again, this is when we talk about the end of the year fund balance. The reason, you know, when we first realized we thought we were going to be in the deficit, we had to call DRA and have to ask a lot of questions there about what we do next. And through that discussion, looking at the RSAs, that as long as we have a fund balance that's in the positive, we are not in a deficit. Like we thought looking at the expenditures, we looked at our expenditures saying we're over on our expenditures. But as long as the fund balance, again, this is according to DRA, and they will be here on September 3rd to answer questions about the deficit and about the process. But again, they had to answer a lot of questions for us. They had to do a lot of research themselves because they're like, we don't know. Let me get back to you to figure out what you need to do because this is not typical. And so,
Ralph, good question. Well, I can wait for Jerry to finish
Yep.
his point. Okay.
no, I was just going to say, so that's how we ended up. Again, this was a long process trying to figure out what we need to do, but it was $154,591.22.
Okay, so now my question would be
Sure.
that 154, that's what's being returned to the taxpayers through the process.
Yeah, that will end up being applied for next year for the fund balance. So when we, again, kind of like we were talking about before, there was $340,000 from the previous fiscal year on the fund balance that is a part of the money that does not need to be raised by taxes.
It'll be a savings to the taxpayer.
Correct. It's again, so when you vote on the budget next year, and it's $9,393,000, that 154 will not need to be raised as part of that 9 million in change that we have to come up with as taxpayers.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Questions about the general fund? The food service fund, the actual revenues there were $218,919.55. The actual expenditures were exactly that as well, $218,919.55 for an ending balance of $0. Grant funds, we had an actual revenue of $393,661.79, and our actual expenditures were $393,661.79. Oh, gosh, I went the wrong way. You know
So I'm just gonna explain the grant fund 435.
Thank you, as I lost it.
I think, and versus the the food service fund, 200. The grant fund, 435, we cannot ask for reimbursement from the DOE unless we actually have evidence that we spent the money according to what was approved. So, we can't get any more money than what we were awarded for and what we spent for. So that takes care of the grant fund. Food service is a fund that we serve meals to students. And if the school district does not charge appropriately or have negative balances at the end of the year, it's the school district's responsibility to make that fund whole. So as part of the revenues of $218,000, there was money moved, as you saw, the $6,800 and the other, I don't have the money, I don't have it in front of me, I have to go back, was applied towards the revenue because we had to cover the shortfall in the food service because we have to make that whole.
I think it was the 8,500 for paid
Well, and
lunches.
together, yeah,
Right.
together. So I just wanted to show the difference, that food service we have to fund no matter what. So did you find?
Yeah, I'm back, yeah. I'm back, thank you for the save. So, you're looking at the beginning balance of the trust funds, we had a beginning balance of $365,316.94. The actual revenues were $172,873.38. The actual expenditures were $331,763.07, and we have an ending balance of $206,426.25 for the trust funds. Any questions?
Just to help identify that NHDOE, Department of Education 25, that's the same as the MS 25, is that correct?
There are two different reports. One, the new the DOE is the Department of Education. The DRA is Department of Revenue. So
MS
that's,
stands for municipal, what?
it's a form. It's the name of the form is what it is. It's right here. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's important to have those numbers sometime around the end of September. or October.
Well, it says on here that they're due September 1st.
Oh, September 1st.
Because these are the reports that the DRA uses to set the tax rate. It gets, so there's two portions to this. The Department of Education has to verify that all the information that's on this, which is this report that shows all the expenditures are done appropriately. And then they notify the DRA that this report is appropriate, and then, so as long as everybody signs this tonight, it will then be uploaded onto the DRA portal for them to review, and it will be sent to the DRA, Department of Education tomorrow.
Everybody or a majority of the board?
Well, everybody up on the board, if we need majority at least.
Right.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Lights?
Say lights.
Lights?
Got it.
That was pretty informative, Jerry.
Marie did a good job preparing for me.
Thank you, Murray.
We work together, all of us, including all of us, work together as a team. All the
You
administrators
did
work
a
together.
great job helping me out today, so,
And
yesterday.
hopefully all the board members work with the same team.
All right,
We do?
continue on. Public comment?
Yeah, there we go.
None?
Nothing else, and that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in
So
favor?
moved.
Aye.